Chapter 792. This little girl who was walking towards Ningfan step by step was none other than the Tao spirit of the heavenly Tao of the lower world, who sent the tribulation to Ningfan in the past. With Ningfan's current experience, he more or less knew that the tribulation of the heavenly Tao of the four heavens and nine worlds could be slightly interfered by a certain great sovereign to control the tribulation of the heavenly Tao. The great emperor who could set up the Tao spirit of the heavenly Tao and interfere with the heavenly tribulation was from the Purple Mansion Academy in the southern heaven celestial realm. Her name was Tribulation Master Emperor, and it was said that she was an empress. Because this monarch was in charge of the tribulations, many ancient monsters would seek help from this monarch when they couldn't withstand the heavenly tribulations. It was also because of this that this emperor's network was extremely good, and he had friends all over the four heavens. He was respected by countless experts, and his reputation had spread far and wide. With Ningfan's information network, he could occasionally hear some information about the immortal emperor wielding tribulation. It was said that this emperor had helped a certain old monster to delay his tribulation again. Speaking of which, Ningfan had once heard the voice of the calamity-wielding great sovereign from the heavenly Tao ring. He had met this white-robed little girl several times. He had once seized this little girl's heavenly law puppet, and he had also turned hostility into friendship with this little girl. Now that he had reunited with the Tao spirit of the heavenly Tao who had once descended a tribulation on him in the eastern heaven, he naturally felt sentimental about how things had changed with the passage of time. However, he knew that now was not the time to feel sentimental. In Ningfan's memory, the white-robed little girl in front of him had expressed her goodwill to him several times. She gave him all kinds of pastries, embroidered shoes and undergarments. Naturally, he no longer had any hostility towards this girl. If it wasn't for the special situation at this moment, where he was waiting to complete the mission Sun Luo gave him with Ghostface, he would have been very happy to greet this little girl. But he couldn't do that now. He had revealed his innate ghost mask in front of many cultivators, and if he removed the mask, it would imperceptibly reveal his true cultivation level and identity. What Ningfan was most concerned about was the Fu Li Qi on her body, and the strange feeling that he sensed earlier. Ningfan cultivated the mind-reading technique, which allowed him to read a woman's mind. Just now, when he was facing this woman, he actually had a feeling that his mind was being read. It wasn't until he activated the yin-yang locket that the feeling disappeared. After all, the yin-yang locket also had the ability to pry into one's mind, so they could cancel each other out. When he deliberately activated the mind-reading technique to pry into the little girl's thoughts, he found that there was a powerful seal in her body, so he couldn't pry into her thoughts at all. At this moment, I can't meet this woman with my true appearance. But I didn't expect that the heavenly Tao spirit who was forced to retreat by my sword in the past was actually not at the void fragmentation realm, but at the Dujin realm. Presumably, when she was the heavenly Tao spirit, her cultivation base was sealed. To be able to control the heavenly Tao of a world, if one's cultivation was too low, it would probably be impossible. But why does this girl have such a strong Fu Li aura? If I'm not wrong, there shouldn't be any Fu Li demon blood in her body. She's not from the Fu Li clan, but she has some kind of fate with the Fu Li clan. While Ningfan's mind was racing, the white-robed little girl had already walked to a distance of 3 zhang away from him. She stopped there with a slightly surprised expression on her face. When she gradually got closer to Ningfan, the Fu Li Qi that was sealed in her body actually felt like it was boiling. It was as if it was excited, which gave her an indescribable feeling. As for the heart-questioning technique that she had always been proud of, she could no longer sense Ningfan's inner thoughts. One should know that with her cultivation base, after she successfully cultivated the heart-questioning technique, almost no cultivator below the Shikong realm could resist her heart-questioning technique. All of a sudden, the little girl made a judgment in her mind. She guessed that Ningfan was at least a Shikong realm old monster. It couldn't be helped. With her eyesight, she could not see through the power of the innate ghost mask. If she could, she would probably overestimate Ningfan's cultivation base even more. I asked you to remove your ghost mask and show me your true appearance. Why didn't you remove it? Could it be that you think I'm not qualified to see your true appearance because I don't have the Dujin realm cultivation base? Or are you so ugly that you don't dare to show your true appearance? The little girl took a bite of the 8 treasures cake and said to Ning Fan fearlessly. Even though she guessed that Ning Fan was in Shikong realm old monster, she was not afraid of him. She was the Tao spirit of the heavenly Tao under the Calamity Sovereign Zhang. Due to the special identity of the Calamity Sovereign, she had a lot of connections. She had also met many powerful old monsters in her daily life. Those old monsters were quite kind to her. Even some old monsters in the 4 Fish sect were quite polite to her. Some Duzhen old monsters who had lived for hundreds of thousands of years even addressed her as elder sister, according to her preference, and often tried to make her happy. She had met many Shikong realm old monsters. Thus, she was naturally not afraid of them. Moreover, the Fu Li Qi in her body was in a mess because of Ning Fan. Thus, her desire to see his true appearance became even stronger. However, it was impossible for Ning Fan to remove his ghost mask and show it to others just like that. He and this girl could be considered to have some karma. However, at this moment, he did not plan to get too involved with her. Just as he was about to say something to her to make her leave temporarily, the little demoness beside him spoke first. She smiled at the little girl in white robes and said, "Little dummy, it has been 1,000 years since we last met. You've become bolder after not seeing your elder sister Xiao for 1,000 years. You don't even know how to greet her when you see her." In other words, this little demoness seemed to be familiar with the little girl of the heavenly Tao. This made Ning Fan slightly stunned, and he swallowed the words that he wanted to say. The little girl in white robes was originally only paying attention to Ning Fan. She did not notice the little demoness beside Ning Fan. At this moment, she suddenly heard the voice of the little demoness. She hurriedly turned to look at her. When she saw who it was, she revealed a flustered expression. She subconsciously took half a step back and said weakly, "Ah, elder sister Asii, why are you here? I didn't mean to not greet you. I didn't see you here just now. If I saw you, I wouldn't have come." This dignified white-robed Tao spirit of the Duzhen realm seemed to be very scared when she saw the little demoness. However, the way she addressed the little demoness seemed to be very intimate. This greatly exceeded Ning Fan's expectation. He could not help but guess the relationship between the two girls curiously. I am the young lord of the Divine Void Realm. What's so strange about me appearing in the Divine Void Realm? As for you, why didn't you become a Tao spirit of the heavenly Tao? Why did you go to the 4 Majestic sect to create trouble? Could it be that you missed me? That's why you returned to the 4 heavens and came to meet me." The corner of the little demoness' mouth curled up slightly. There was a faint smile on her face which made her look somewhat evil. The white-robed little girl hurriedly shook her head after hearing her words. "I won't miss you." As soon as she finished speaking, she felt that what she said was very inappropriate. She hurriedly changed her words. No. I don't dare to miss you. It's not like that. How can I not miss you? You're still so interesting. Don't be afraid. I won't eat you. If you have nothing else to do, stay here and talk to me." Before the little demoness could finish her words, the white-robed little girl's small hand trembled. The 8 treasures cake that she was chewing on almost fell from her mouth. She said weakly, "Elder sister Asii, I still have a mission to protect the Sea of Light. I don't have time to talk to you. I'll leave first." As soon as she finished speaking, the white-robed little girl directly left the place without saying a word to chase away the other cultivators, as if she was avoiding a tiger or a wolf. Even though she was curious about the mystery of Ning Fan's body that could make her Fu Li Qi become chaotic, she did not continue to investigate Ning Fan, because she was afraid of the little demoness. After the girl left, Ning Fan asked curiously, "Do you know this girl?" She was once one of the Tao spirits of the heavenly Tao in the lower world. She also had another identity, which was the disciple of the immortal Emperor Zhangjia. "I once followed the Void Sovereign to the Purple Palace of Southern Heaven, due to some matters. I met this girl once and some small matters happened. That's why even though this girl has a high cultivation base, she is afraid of me like a tiger. It's very interesting. What did you do to her? Why is she so afraid of you?" Ning Fan asked in surprise. "It's a secret." The corner of the little demoness' mouth curled upwards. Suddenly, she smiled at Ning Fan and said, "This little idiot wants to see your true appearance. I helped you to chase her away. How are you going to thank me? You don't mean what you say. You're afraid that I will attack her. Don't worry. She and I are considered as old acquaintances. I won't do anything to her. Is that so? The little demoness looked at Ningfan meaningfully. No one knew what she was thinking. All the emotions that Sun Luo and the patriarch of the Xiao family brought to her slightly subsided due to the appearance of the white-robed little girl. Ningfan's eyes stared at the distant battlefield in the Sea of Light. On that battlefield, Sun Luo was engaged in a bitter battle with 12 immortal emperors. He was probably going to die. The emperors of the Eastern Heaven had joined the battle. Even the Four Fish sect was involved. To Ningfan, it was still too early for him to step into a battlefield of this level. The battle in the Sea of Light lasted for 7 days. During these 7 days, the aftermath of magic techniques constantly spread out from the battlefield. Even though it was blocked by the barrier of the Sea of Light, there were still loud explosions that shocked many of the old monsters of the Eastern Heaven and the cultivators of the Four Fish. There were also many old monsters of the Eastern Heaven who rushed to this place after hearing that Sun Luo was trapped. Some of them were the subordinates of the emperors who were fighting there. There were also other cultivators who belonged to various forces of the Eastern Heaven. Other than the Divine Void Realm cultivators and the Four Fish sect cultivators, there were also millions of cultivators from the Eastern Heaven. Moreover, Ningfan even saw a cultivator who also wore a ghost mask. He should be the assassin of the Slaughter Palace. He was secretly engraving information jade slips and sending it to the Slaughter Palace. When they saw Ningfan wearing the ghost mask, the expressions of most of them changed slightly. However, they did not come over to talk to him. Even the people of the Slaughter Palace have appeared here. Ningfan muttered to himself. The fact that Sun Luo was trapped by the 12 emperors had affected the nerves of the entire Eastern Heaven immortal world. Countless people were paying close attention to the battle. It was undeniable that Sun Luo was powerful and successful. He made the entire Eastern Heaven fear his devil name. 7 days passed. The fluctuations of the battle in the Sea of Light gradually weakened. Presumably, the outcome of the battle between the 12 emperors and Sun Luo had already been decided. On the 8th day, the countless light walls above the Sea of Light suddenly exploded and shattered. The 1 million cultivators of the Four Fish sect were shocked. They immediately retreated in a hurry, trying to avoid the fluctuations caused by the explosion of the light walls. However, there were still a few of them who died under the fluctuations. As soon as the light walls were destroyed, the figures of the 12 emperors and Sun Luo appeared in front of the cultivators once again. At this moment, 4 of the 12 emperors had their physical bodies destroyed. The rest of them were also severely injured. On the other side, Sun Luo had already died in battle. His physical body was destroyed and his primordial spirit was shattered. His head was hanging high up in the air. His head was tightly shut with black blood flowing out of its eyes. It was hanging high up on a golden light pillar. Below his head, the destruction beast was lying on the ground with severe injuries. It looked at Sun Luo's head with its beady eyes. Sun Luo was defeated in the end. No matter how strong he was not a match for the 12 emperors. After all, among the 12 emperors, there were even 2 Four Darkness great emperors who were part of the 9th tribulation of eternity. Of course, the main reason why he was defeated was that he was reluctant to use the remaining power of time and quicksand to form samsara. Otherwise, even if he was no match for the 12 emperors, he could still kill several low-level immortal emperors with the remaining power of samsara in his hands before he was defeated. Old Devil Sun Luo is dead. Good. Good. Countless Divine Void Realm cultivators and Eastern Heaven cultivators cheered. From their point of view, as long as Sun Luo is alive, the Eastern Heaven will not be at peace. Among these cheering cultivators, there were no cultivators from the Eternal Era. As for the 12 emperors, none of them showed any expression of joy. On the contrary, all of their expressions were solemn and fearful. Sun Luo is not dead. Ningfan's eyes shone brightly. He had cultivated the power of samsara before. Even though his comprehension of it was low, he could vaguely sense that there was a terrifying power of samsara flowing inside Sun Luo's head that was hanging high up in the sky. This power of samsara was even 2 times stronger than the power contained in the ring of the incipient Saint Ring. Moreover, it had a different quality. The previous power of samsara was the result of Sun Luo forcefully merging the power of time and quicksand into the great Tao of void. Both of them intertwined with each other, separating the void from the real. Life and death followed each other, thus forming the cycle of samsara. The current power of samsara was formed after Sun Luo's death. It had Sun Luo's persistence in dying 100 times without any regrets. Since Sun Luo was already dead, the coincidentally formed power of samsara began to fill up and become complete. Sun Luo was dead, but his head was still alive. That was what Ning Fan firmly believed. There was one thing that Ning Fan did not know. The most terrifying thing about a third-step cultivator, who was also known as a sage, was that they were difficult to destroy. Even if a sage's primordial spirit was destroyed and he lost his life, as long as his incomplete body and Tao remained, he could still fight until the last moment. Even if his blood was spilled and his body was incomplete, as long as his remnant consciousness remained, he could still fight until the end. At the moment, Sun Luo was in such a situation. It was also a kind of realm that he had deliberately reached. He fought until the last moment, and was left with only one head. In the end, he died, but he was not afraid. That was his goal. He wanted to use his last remaining body to unleash the complete power of samsara. Currently, Ning Fan could not see through all the key points, but he gained great enlightenment. All of these enlightenment were related to samsara. When countless divine void realm cultivators and the old monsters of the eastern sky were celebrating Sun Luo's death, Sun Luo's head that was hanging high up in the sky opened its hollow eyes. That pair of empty eyes suddenly became lively, crazed, and stubborn. There was no longer any sign of life inside the head, but it had an aura force that made everyone tremble. No one knew that even though Sun Luo was dead at this moment, his head was the head of a real sage. That was Sun Luo's original goal, and he had achieved it. Qianyu, I want you to open your eyes again and witness a beautiful scene. Even if I only have one head left, so what? What is there to be afraid of? Roar! Boundless blood-red flames spread out from under Sun Luo's head. An earth-shaking devil roar suddenly came from Sun Luo's mouth. At this moment, Sun Luo's head flew high up into the sky. At this moment, a blood-red halo that made the 12 great emperors' expressions change suddenly spread across heaven and earth. It was Sun Luo's devil roar after his death. The depth of his remnant consciousness was countless times greater than when he was alive. The killing intent that the blood-red halo contained was enough to kill the 4 great emperors who had lost their physical bodies and severely injure the rest of the immortal emperors. That force spread in a frenzy, causing the 12 great emperors' expressions to change, and they retreated frantically. However, the strange thing was that after the blood-red halo spread to a certain distance, it suddenly stopped moving and was forcibly fixed on the Star River. The blood-red halo did not continue to attack the 12 emperors. However, any cultivator who stepped into the range of the halo, or tried to attack Sun Luo's head, would be attacked by the halo. Among the 12 emperors, no one could block the power of the halo, and no one dared to step into its range. Within the halo, only the cracked heaven-suppressing bell floated in the Star River, only the destruction beast was on its last breath, and only Sun Luo's head floated silently. At this moment, it was as if only the hanging head was left between heaven and earth. Sun Luo glared fiercely at the heaven-suppressing bell. Finally, no one could stop him from destroying the bell to save his life. Finally, his remaining head suddenly shone with a demonic light. He roared crazily and used his remaining head to slam against the heaven-suppressing bell. The force of this collision was indescribable. Even the 2 great emperors of the 4 Meridian sect, who were outside the halo and had cultivation bases of the eternal 9 calamities, were shocked by this force. In their eyes, although this collision seemed ordinary, its power had already exceeded the scope of the second step. No second-step cultivator could withstand the force of this collision. This collision caused the cracks on the heaven-suppressing bell to spread rapidly. Almost 1/6 of the bell was directly destroyed, turning into thousands of golden fragments that fell in all directions. This collision caused the heaven-suppressing bell to tremble even more violently, turning into rolling bell sounds that reflected back at Sun Luo's head. Immediately blood flowed from Sun Luo's head, but there was no pain in his eyes. He was already dead, so how could he feel pain? 1/6 of the heaven-suppressing bell had already been destroyed. The demonic light in his eyes changed, and the power of reincarnation poured out like water. Part of the heaven-suppressing bell had already been destroyed, and Qianyu's remnant Tao was flowing out of the bell bit by bit. Under the control of Sun Luo's reincarnation power, phantoms flew out of the heaven-suppressing bell. There were birds and beasts, dharma treasures, and divine abilities. There were humans and immortals. All the living beings that died under the heaven-suppressing bell. The secret treasures that were destroyed under the heaven-suppressing bell. Those with Daos, and the remnant Daos left behind some, and were stored in the bell. Among those phantoms, there was a phantom of a woman with hollow eyes that attracted all of Sun Luo's attention. At this moment, Sun Luo only wanted to do one thing, and that was to use all the reincarnation power in his head to revive this woman's remnant Tao phantom, and let her be reborn in the eastern sky, because she was his one and only true love. That year, I stood in front of 10,000 enemies. I didn't seek victory or defeat. I only wanted to hold your warmth tightly. That life, I traveled the 100,000 galaxies. I didn't cultivate for the next life. I only wanted to meet you along the way. That day, my head was hanging high up, but my heart was calm. Qianyu, wake up. Qianyu, wake up. Roar. The hanging head once again let out a shocking demonic roar. This time, the Tao essence contained in the roar was completely different from before. It wasn't killing but redemption. It wasn't just longing, but also persistence. I'm going home late, but there will be updates. I'll try to update 2 times tonight. Chapter 793. Legend had it that a third-step saint could resurrect a cultivator, who only had an incomplete Tao. It was just a legend. No one in the 4 heavens and 9 worlds had witnessed it with their own eyes. However, the cultivators who came to this place today were fortunate enough to witness such a rare scene. When Sun Luo was still alive, he did not know if his samsara power could resurrect Xiao Qianyu. However, he did not hesitate to give it a try even if he had to sacrifice his own life. Even if he was already a dead man when he resurrects Qianyu, he would not regret it even if he lost his consciousness and could no longer look at her. He would not regret it. He was such a stubborn devil. Even if he had to fight till his last drop of blood, he would never change his Tao. His love might not be able to touch Ningfan and make up for his mistakes. However, even if Ningfan had a heart of steel and stone, he would still be moved by his madness and persistence in his Tao heart. It was because Ningfan was still a person who pursued the Tao in the end. Sun Luo's hanging head carried a great meaning to Ningfan. Ningfan's Tao was stubbornness. What else in the world could be more stubborn than Sun Luo's hanging head? He would not regret it even if he died 100 times. At this moment, Ningfan had a deeper understanding of the Tao of stubbornness. To Sun Luo, stubbornness meant not caring about anything and everything. If he is overcautious and indecisive, he would no longer be Sun Luo. On the divine space star, the blind old man who was standing on the long stairs suddenly shed tears. His expression was bitter and he sighed softly. Foolish child. Foolish child. His heart ached for the passing of his disciple. However, he did not stop him in the end. Sun Luo's Tao was not confused. No matter what was right or wrong, he did not stop him. He would help him clean up the mess. The eyes of Senro's remaining head suddenly flashed with a resolute, demonic light. All of the power of reincarnation poured down like a rainbow. It was as light as a feather and poured toward the woman's shadow without reservation. I will use my entire life of samsara in exchange for you opening your eyes. Can you? The flesh and blood of Sun Luo's head turned into blood and flowed away bit by bit. Gradually, only a dead skull was left. It was decayed and dark. There was no longer any life force or samsara power left. All of his samsara power and his remaining life force were given to the woman in front of him. Otherwise, even if he was left with only his skull, he would still maintain his will and fight to the death. With a cracking sound, Sun Luo's skull shattered into 6 pieces and fell into the starry sky. Among the 12 martial emperors, 3 of them immediately dashed toward the 6 skulls, as if they were going to fight for the 6 skulls. In their opinion, Senro's skull was probably useful. At this moment, when the 12 emperors confirmed that Sun Luo had really perished, their expressions eased up slightly. The other martial monarchs were stunned. He looked thoughtfully at the phantom of a woman who walked out of the bell. He watched as the woman's body condensed bit by bit. Her clothes fluttered as she appeared gracefully in front of the world. Apart from the woman's incomplete Taoist phantom, the other incomplete Taoist phantoms that had flown out of the heaven-suppressing bell vanished from the world. How beautiful was this woman! Her eyes were like 1,000 raindrops descending into the mortal world. Yet they were untainted by a speck of dust, aloof from the world. The Void Emperor's expression was the most complicated. The moment he saw the woman, his expression darkened, and he closed his eyes. His junior brother had died, but Xiao Qianyu had come back to life. It wasn't that he wasn't interested in that woman, but he wasn't like Sun Luo, who didn't care much about love. He was a true immortal emperor. Since ancient times, emperors had always been heartless. I want to see Sun Luo. But who is Sun Luo? Who am I? Who are all of you? The woman's eyes were filled with confusion as she murmured to herself. Suddenly, she glanced to the side and saw the 3 martial monarchs who were fighting for Sun Luo's skull. Among the 3 martial monarchs, 2 were 6th and 7th tribulation martial monarchs, and 1 was an 8th tribulation martial monarch of the Four-Meat sect. The moment Xiao Qianyu's eyes saw Sun Luo's skull, she couldn't help but tear up. Her heart felt like it was pierced by thousands of arrows, and the pain was indescribable. Whose skull was that? Why did she feel so sad and care about it so much? She didn't recognize the skull at all. Even if she did, she wouldn't be able to remember it. She raised her finger and channeled her magic power like rain, pressing it towards the 3 martial monarchs. She didn't want them to touch the skull. It was hers, and it could only be hers. Although she didn't know why. Her body originally didn't release any aura, but when her finger pressed down, it immediately activated all the magic power in her body. This magic power contained the magic power she had when she was alive, and also the cultivation that Sun Luo had given her. At this moment, her cultivation was no longer at the thought fragmentation realm when she was alive, but the 8th tribulation eternal realm. This cultivation was clearly different from her cultivation when she was alive. When her finger pressed down, her eyes immediately became confused. She couldn't remember when she had broken through to the immortal emperor realm. She had even forgotten who she was, but she still felt that this magic power didn't belong to her. However, she didn't reject the aura of this magic power. It was very warm, very warm. Who is it? This magic power that doesn't belong to me. Who is its owner? Her finger turned into a golden rain of light that filled the sky, forming 3 rain vortexes in the starry sky, sprinkling towards the 3 martial monarchs. Every drop of the golden rain was as heavy as a mountain, and it had the power to destroy a low-grade cultivation planet. Under the heavy curtain of rain, even the 3 martial monarchs' expressions changed. They hurriedly retreated and used their divine abilities, summoning their magic treasures to block the light rain that filled the sky. The 3 of them looked indignant as they glared at Xiao Qianyu. One of them even scolded. When you were alive, you must have been a divine void martial monarch. Why did you attack us for no reason? It was obvious that the person who spoke did not know Xiao Qianyu's identity and cultivation when she was alive. Xiao Qianyu took the opportunity to wave her sleeves, taking the 6 skull fragments into her hands, and slowly pieced them together to form a complete skull. Looking at the complete skull, her heart ached again. She couldn't explain it, and she couldn't understand why. However, her tears had already become a poem. What's going on? Xiao Qianyu was only at the thought fragmentation realm before she died. Why did she break through to the 8th tribulation eternal realm after she was resurrected? Divine Void Martial Monarch's expression changed. He had vaguely guessed the reason why Sun Luo had destroyed the heaven-suppressing bell, and he had personally witnessed Xiao Qianyu's broken Tao resurrection. Seeing Xiao Qianyu's resurrection, he wasn't that surprised. After all, he had heard that a 3rd-step saint could resurrect a 2nd-step cultivator's broken Tao. Although it was the first time he had seen a broken Tao cultivator resurrect, he wasn't surprised. However, seeing Xiao Qianyu's cultivation level skyrocket to such a realm, he couldn't accept it no matter what. Divine Void Martial Monarch, couldn't understand how the woman in front of him could obtain such a high cultivation level just by dying once. She was now at the same level as him. Could it be that all broken Tao cultivators who were resurrected by the reincarnation force could obtain a huge increase in their cultivation level? No, that was obviously impossible. There were no similar records in the ancient books. Normally, even if it was a broken Tao cultivator who was resurrected by a saint, before they completely returned to their original state, their cultivation level would drop drastically. He was divine void martial monarch, and he had cultivated for countless years to reach the 8th tribulation eternal realm cultivation level. However, Xiao Qianyu had reached this realm so easily. This was really frustrating for him. 8th tribulation eternal realm. This void martial monarch suddenly opened his eyes and looked at Xiao Qianyu in disbelief. It was obvious that he was also shocked by Xiao Qianyu's cultivation level. Among the other celestial emperors, there were a few who knew Xiao Qianyu's cultivation level before she died, and they were all shocked. This was the first time they had seen the reincarnation force resurrect a broken Tao cultivator. It was reasonable that they couldn't understand. The reason why this woman's cultivation level was higher than when she was alive after she was resurrected was because the method of her resurrection was different from ordinary people. Her resurrection this time wasn't a normal resurrection. It should be said that according to the normal method, even if Sun Luo used the Genesis Saint Samsara ring, he still wouldn't be able to resurrect this woman. This woman wasn't resurrected at all. It was obvious that Sun Luo had sacrificed himself to help this woman. Interesting. I didn't expect that a mere immortal king of the 5th tribulation eternal realm would be able to wreak havoc in the eastern heaven. Moreover, with his heaven-shaking methods, he sacrificed himself to resurrect a broken Tao cultivator, and even increase the cultivation level of the person who was resurrected. This was something that was rarely seen since ancient times. This old man wants this person's skull. A sudden voice suddenly resounded in Eastern Sea Star Field, shocking countless cultivators and even the 12 great emperors. No one knew who this person was or when he had appeared. However, when they felt the heaven-shaking aura contained in this person's words, no one dared to ignore his existence. It was a purple-robed old man surrounded by 7-colored light. His body was illusory as he suddenly appeared in the starry sky. His aura was like the sky as he stared coldly at Xiao Qianyu, who had just been resurrected. He wasn't a 3rd step cultivator. His cultivation level was still at the 2nd step, but there was a hint of the 8th color in the 7-colored light around him. Although his cultivation level was still at the 9th tribulation eternal realm, it was far from being comparable to the 2 9 tribulation immortal emperors of the 4 demonic sect. There was a qualitative difference between them. "Give me the skull in your hand," the illusory old man said coldly. His voice contained a shocking aura that spread in all directions like an invisible sound wave. Xiao Qianyu was the first to bear the brunt of it. Xiao Qianyu, who had the cultivation level of the 8th tribulation eternal realm, was hit by the sound wave. Her aura instantly became chaotic. Her beautiful face changed and she quickly retreated. The cultivators who felt the pressure from this person all had their Tao hearts tremble. Those with slightly lower cultivation levels felt their aura suppressed and fell from the starry sky, as if they were being crushed by a huge mountain. Even the expressions of the other immortal emperors changed. One of the 2 9 tribulation immortal emperors of the 4 demonic sect changed his expression, and immediately warned the other 3 immortal emperors of the 4 demonic sect. "Don't offend this person. He's a quasi-saint from a secret race." His voice wasn't loud, but it spread across the galaxy almost instantly. The words quasi-saint and secret race were like the collapse of the sky and the earth, making the hearts of all cultivators who heard it tremble. Quasi-saint. Everyone who heard these words had a shocked expression on their faces. In this era where there were no saints, a quasi-saint was the supreme being. Ordinary immortal emperors couldn't be compared to them, and no one dared to offend them. Xiao Qianyu's beautiful eyes were filled with fear when she faced this quasi-saint who had appeared out of nowhere. She instinctively knew that she had no chance of winning against this person, but she was unwilling to hand over the skull in her hand to this person. She felt that the skull was very important to her. Even if she couldn't remember or know who the owner of the skull was. "No matter who you are, I won't hand over this skull to you." Xiao Qianyu's voice was cold and resolute. Her resoluteness vaguely resembled Sun Luo. She had obtained all of Sun Luo's power, including his persistence and Dao sense. From then on, Sun Luo would live in her life. However, she didn't know it. You can't keep what I've set my eyes on. Give it to me. The purple-robed old man let out a cold snort and waved his hand. Immediately, countless purple straws fell from the sky. Those straws were illusory and ethereal. However, they contained an indescribably great divine ability, which seemed to possess heaven-shaking power. He's from the Purple Clan. All of a sudden, the 12 emperors guessed the origin of the old man. There were also many old monsters who exclaimed the old man's origin based on the divine ability of the purple straws. A quasi-saint of the Purple Clan. He had heard about the name of the Purple Clan from Yuan Yao before. He had also injured an abandoned member of the Purple Clan during the Star Sea Demon War. He remembered that the member was called Zichuan or something. However, he did not expect to see a quasi-saint of the Purple Clan here today. Although they were both in the 9th tribulation of the Eternal Era, a quasi-saint was in existence who had half a step into the 3rd step. He was not an existence that ordinary great emperors of the 9 tribulations of the Eternal Era could compare to, let alone Xiao Qianyu. Seeing that the purple straws that filled the sky were about to turn into a divine ability and hurt Xiao Qianyu, a blind old man suddenly stepped out from the divine space star and appeared in the starry sky. He stood in front of Xiao Qianyu and blocked her way. His expression was blank, but his aura force that no one could ignore. I can give you the skull of my disciple. However, you can't touch this girl. The blind old man's body was surrounded by 7-colored light. Among the 7 colors, there was also a trace of the 8th color. Thus, none of the cultivators whose cultivation bases were lower than the Eternal Era realm could see his true appearance. Ning Fan, of course, could not see his true appearance. However, he was shocked by his powerful aura force. The aura force of the blind old man was not any weaker than that quasi-saint of the Purple Clan. How could Ning Fan expect that the godly Void Pavilion did not only have the 2 divine Void Emperors, but also a quasi-saint who had been living in seclusion? The little demoness was equally shocked. She had the identity of the divine Void Pavilion's young lord. Thus, she knew many secrets of the godly Void Pavilion. However, she did not know that there was a 3rd immortal emperor in the godly Void Pavilion. Moreover, this immortal emperor was actually a quasi-saint. Master. The Void Sovereign's eyes flashed, but he felt slightly relieved. With his master here, there was nothing to worry about even if a quasi-saint of the secret race comes. As soon as the quasi-saint in purple robes saw the blind old man, he immediately narrowed his eyes. After pondering for a moment, he dispersed the sky-covering straws. As for the blind old man, he remained indifferent and did not say a word. No one saw how he did it, but he had already taken the Sun Luo skull from Xiao Qianyu's hands. After a moment of hesitation, he still handed the skull to the person who came. Who are you? Return that skull to me. That is. Xiao Qianyu felt pain in her heart. She looked at the blind old man indignantly. She just felt that this person was very familiar, but she just could not remember who he was. Do you know whose skull it is? The blind old man asked in a stupefied manner. I don't know and I don't remember. Xiao Qianyu felt a stabbing pain in her heart and said sorrowfully. Although she didn't know, her heart ached. Why was it like this? Since you don't know, then you should never know. Luo'er's lifelong wish is only you. You must live well. Don't provoke a murderous calamity just for a skull. Don't let his painstaking efforts go to waste. As soon as he finished speaking, the blind old man's vast spirit sense swept across the starry sky and finally fell on the quasi-saint of the Purple Clan. The chaos in Eastern Heaven ends here. People of the secret race, quickly leave my Eastern Sea Star region. His words contained the same unyielding aura as Sun Luo's. It did not allow anyone to refuse, even if the opponent was a person of the secret race or a quasi-saint. The quasi-saint of the Purple Clan looked displeased, as if he was very dissatisfied with the tone of the blind old man. However, after weighing the Sun Luo skull in his hand, he did not want to fight with the blind old man here. His eyes flashed slightly, but he finally snorted coldly and fled. The quasi-saint of the secret race was actually forced to retreat by the quasi-saint of divine void. This shock rose in the hearts of countless Eastern Heaven cultivators. Within 4 days, there were not many people who could make a cultivator of the secret race suffer a loss. Moreover, the opponent was a quasi-saint. My godly void pavilion actually has a quasi-saint overseeing it. The cultivators of the godly void pavilion were all greatly shocked. Xiao Qinyu, you were a person of divine void when you were alive, but you have already died once for divine void. After your rebirth, if you want to continue staying in divine void, this old man will naturally protect your safety. If you want to leave, this old man will not stop you. No one in divine void would dare to stop you. The blind old man sent 2 spirit senses in the direction of Emperor Shen Void and Emperor Shen Void, as if telling them how to treat Xiao Qinyu well. After that, he let out a long sigh and his figure flashed, disappearing without a trace. He returned to Divine Void Star, and stood alone on the long stairs. The autumn wind was bleak, making him look even more lonely. Sun Luo's death made him sad. He needed a good time to calm down. Xiao Qinyu was left alone standing on the starry sky. She was at a loss and tears were streaming down her face. Xiao Qinyu could not remember who the owner of the skull was. However, when the skull was taken by someone else and she was powerless to stop it, she felt as if a knife was being twisted in her heart. Roar. A low roar of a beast suddenly entered Xiao Qinyu's ears. It was the voice of the destruction beast. It was so familiar yet so strange. You are. Xiao Qinyu's light flashed and appeared in front of the destruction beast. Looking at the destruction beast, she only felt that it was familiar, yet so strange. No matter how hard she tried, she could not remember anything about this beast. She just stretched out her hand in a daze and stroked the destruction beast's huge body, which was like a cultivation planet, with tears at the corner of her eyes. The chaos in Eastern Heaven had ended here, among the 4 immortal emperors of the 4 Meridians sect. An 8 tribulation immortal emperor had his body smashed by Sun Luo with a punch. Among the immortal emperors of Eastern Heaven, Han Yun Great Emperor, Yellow Turban Great Emperor, and Maha Great Emperor had lost their bodies. It would not be easy for these immortal emperors who had their bodies destroyed by Sun Luo to rebuild their bodies. The other immortal emperors had also suffered serious injuries. They all needed to immediately go into seclusion to heal. Although they were badly injured by Sun Luo, they were much luckier than Abyss Great Emperor and Hengze Great Emperor, who had died in this chaos. Even after the great battle, the expressions of the immortal emperors changed when they talked about Sun Luo. 2 of the 16 immortal emperors of Eastern Heaven had fallen. From now on, there were only 14 famous immortal emperors in Eastern Heaven. The immortal emperors left with their subordinates. The cultivators of the 4 Freaks sect were temporarily stationed in Eastern Sea Star region to deal with the aftermath of the Heaven-suppressing bell. The Heaven-suppressing bell was badly damaged. 1/6 of its body was destroyed by Sun Luo. This bell was of great significance. It must not be destroyed easily. It must be repaired properly. The future bell offering ceremony must also continue. More and more Divine Void Realm cultivators set foot on the Star River and began to clean up the battlefield. The cultivators who did not belong to the 4 Freaks sect or the Godly Void Pavilion were considered as outsiders. It was about time for them to leave. At this moment, the sound of fireworks suddenly resounded above the Star River. Colorful lotus-shaped fireworks bloomed in the dead silence of the Star River. They were like fireworks in winter. It was so quiet, so beautiful and so lonely. The one who set off the fireworks was Ning Fan. At this moment, after waving his hand to set off the fireworks, he temporarily bid farewell to little Demonis and gave Xiao Qinyu a deep look. Then his figure flashed and disappeared without a trace. The chaos in Eastern Heaven had ended. All the Divine Void Realm cultivators had come out. Little Demonis would not be in any trouble. Ning Fan had also fulfilled Sun Luo's last wish by setting off all the fireworks in the sky. Since his mission was completed, he naturally had to retreat. It was too dangerous to do this in front of countless old monsters to attract attention. Fortunately, most of the people were paying attention to other things. Not many of them paid attention to Ning Fan. Not many people cared about his departure. Even though his act of setting off fireworks was strange and made people suspicious, no one was willing to investigate it. After Ning Fan concealed himself, he flew towards the outer region of Eastern Sea Star region. Seeing that no one was paying attention to him, he could not help but feel relieved. He had already given the jade box that Sun Luo gave to little Demoness. She could refine the black ball of light on her own. It would not be difficult for her to get rid of the void poison in her body. At this moment, Ning Fan was flying towards the outer region of Eastern Sea Star region with a heavy heart. This direction was the direction to leave Eastern Sea Star region. It was also the place where the Devil Chi crystal left behind by the Heavenly Devil, who looked like Mo Luo, had fallen. At this moment, Ning Fan did not notice that there was a hidden shadow of a ball of light following him silently. That shadow of the ball of light was one of the many shadows of the broken Tao that flew out from the heaven-suppressing bell when Sun Luo destroyed it. The reason why it was following Ning Fan was because it instinctively sensed a trace of the Eastern Sea Bell's reaction from Ning Fan's storage pouch. This shadow of the ball of light was neither in the shape of a human nor a bird or a beast. It was also not in the form of a magic treasure. This ball of light that was left behind by an unknown object was tailing Ning Fan all the way. No one knew about it, not even the emperors of the Divine Void Realm. Only when Ning Fan had flown far away from Eastern Sea Star did he vaguely feel that he was being followed by something. This feeling of being followed caused his heart to sink. However, the other party did not seem to have any hostility towards him. Instead, it kept giving him a friendly aura which made him feel strange. What is following me? Ning Fan's heart sank. All of a sudden, his body flashed and entered the profound Yin world, trying to avoid being followed. To his surprise, the mysterious ball of light that was hiding its tracks suddenly revealed itself. With a flash, it directly entered the profound Yin world and appeared in front of Ning Fan. This scene caused Ning Fan's expression to change. Many immortal emperors had treasures that belonged to the middle kiliacosm. Even though the profound Yin world was just a middle kiliacosm, and it might not be able to withstand the attacks of immortal emperors, no one had ever heard of an immortal emperor who could directly enter the middle kiliacosm of another immortal emperor. This ball of light directly entered the middle kiliacosm that Ning Fan controlled. The strength of its ability shocked Ning Fan. After taking a closer look at the ball of light, Ning Fan was greatly puzzled. He also could not tell what exactly this ball of light was. This ball of light had been hovering around him without any hostility. On the contrary, it seemed to be friendly to him, which confused him. It looked like a ball of golden cotton candy. It felt a little illusory and soft to the touch. It was indestructible and did not possess any offensive power. Its form was somewhat similar to the many shadows of the broken Tao in the heaven-suppressing bell, but there were also some differences. It contained Tao power, but Ning Fan did not know what Tao it was. The only thing Ning Fan could be sure of was that this item was definitely not the manifestation of some kind of ability. It was also not a secret treasure that others used to track him. Any living beings or magic treasures that were destroyed by the heaven-suppressing bell would have their broken Tao left in it, as long as they contained Tao sense. Ning Fan's eyes flashed. Could it be that this item was also one of the many shadows of the broken Tao in the heaven-suppressing bell, and it managed to escape after Sun Luo destroyed the bell? This item might also be one of the shadows of the broken Tao in the heaven-suppressing bell. However, I don't know what exactly left this shadow behind and why it is following me and not willing to leave. The shadows of the other living beings and magic treasures will disappear from heaven and earth once they leave the heaven-suppressing bell. Why can this item remain here all this time without disappearing? While Ning Fan was pondering, his expression suddenly changed. He patted his storage pouch, took out the Eastern Ocean bell and tossed it into the sky. The golden cotton candy that was hovering around him immediately showed a joyful expression and kept hovering around the Eastern Ocean bell. This ball of light is really following me for this bell. While Ning Fan was investigating the mysterious ball of light, Xiao Qinyu was standing next to the destruction beast in the starry sky near Eastern Ocean planet. She stared at the fireworks that filled the sky and was lost in thought. These fireworks are so beautiful. I really want to see them together with Sun Luo. But who is Sun Luo? Sorry for the late double update. I'll update even later today. I'll try to update earlier tomorrow. Chapter 794. Sun Luo was already dead. However, the series of aftershocks that he caused still tugged at the heartstrings of the cultivators in the eastern heaven. Ning Fan was already very lucky to be able to escape unscathed after being dragged into this chaos. Initially, he planned to find that Devil Chi crystal after setting off the fireworks and leave the Eastern Ocean Star region to sort out his gains from this trip. However, due to the mysterious light ball following him, he had no choice but to give up on his original plan. In the profound Yin world, Ning Fan had already kept his ghost mask. He stood on the ground and looked at the vast sky. The Eastern Ocean bell was floating in the sky. A soft golden light ball was hovering around the bell. The golden light ball was filled with joy at the moment. It seemed to like the Eastern Ocean bell very much. There seemed to be some kind of connection between it and the Eastern Ocean bell. However, it was unclear. Ning Fan's eyes turned solemn. At this moment, he was absolutely sure that the reason why this mysterious light ball was following him was because of the Eastern Ocean bell. However, what made Ning Fan curious was that this light ball did not have its own consciousness. It did not have the intention to seize the Eastern Ocean bell. It came for the Eastern Ocean bell. However, just hovering around the bell was enough to satisfy it. Every time the golden light ball touched the Eastern Ocean bell, its body would uncontrollably release an ancient Tao aura. At first, the Tao aura was very complicated. However, it gradually became clearer towards the end. At first, Ning Fan could not identify the type of Tao power contained in the light ball. Now, however, he could gradually identify it. This is the void Tao power. Moreover, this Tao power is very pure and different from ordinary Tao power. Ning Fan waved his hand and the Eastern Ocean bell shrank back to his palm. The golden light ball immediately landed in front of Ning Fan and hovered around the Eastern Ocean bell. In the end, as if it was tired of hovering, it shook and turned into the size of an egg. Then it rolled into Ning Fan's palm and snuggled tightly with the Eastern Ocean bell. Holding the golden light ball in his palm, Ning Fan's expression instantly changed. The moment his palm came into contact with the golden light ball, an unimaginable void Tao power immediately flowed out from the light ball and spread across the entire profound Yin world. This sudden change greatly shocked Ning Fan. After all, he had also touched the golden light ball with his finger before, but nothing like this happened. In an instant, the space of the entire profound Yin world seemed to have frozen. The breeze stopped blowing, the clouds stopped moving, and the water stopped flowing. The falling raindrops floated in the air and did not fall. Everything seemed to freeze in that instant. The entire profound Yin world was frozen by that golden ball of light. In this world, Ning Fan was the only one who could move. This golden ball of light clearly contained an abnormally powerful void Tao energy, which could stop a medium-level profound Yin world. It should be said that this power had already far surpassed the scope of Tao energy. It's the power of Tao laws. First step cultivators would start cultivating intent power when they reached the soul formation stage. The so-called concept could be seen as incomplete Tao power. The mountain has its own meaning, the water has its own meaning, a cup of tea, a bottle of wine, everything has its own meaning. All things in the world had their own intentions because they had a Tao. First step cultivators couldn't see the existence of Tao, but they could see the intent of Tao and gradually go from real to void. Looking at the mountains and rivers in front of him, he gradually stopped looking at the mountains and rivers. Instead, he looked at the Tao contained within. Intent realms were divided into high and low levels. However, the cultivation of any intent realm would eventually turn into the pursuit of Tao. Those who cultivate the intent realm of fire would most likely embark on the path of pursuing the true Tao of fire. Those who cultivate the intent realm of lightning would most likely become a lightning immortal if they step into the second step. The second step cultivators didn't cultivate their intent, but their Tao. Life immortals entered the Tao through their intent while true immortals guarded the Tao and pursued the true Tao. The ancient cultivators tried to use the Tao truth to explore the rules of Tao. Fire burns all things, rain swamps all lives, trees stand out in the forest. The 5 elements in the world had different powers. All of them were related to the rules of Tao. The rules of the existence of Tao were the Tao laws. Most of the ancient cultivators could use the power of the Tao laws to display their abilities. However, there were only a few who could truly control the Tao laws. Only cultivators who had cultivated to the sixth tribulation could be called immortal emperors. Only those who had mastered a certain Tao law could be called the sovereign immortal emperor. The Tao law was a power that was higher than the Tao truth and intent realm. It was a kind of rule power. It was a power that only the sovereign immortal emperor could completely control. The reason why the golden ball of light could stop the profound Yin world was because he had mastered the Tao laws of the profound Yin world in an instant. Previously, he ignored the barrier of the profound Yin world and directly entered this world. Most likely, he was relying on the power of the Tao laws. Even Sun Luo, who had cultivated the great Tao of void to the extreme, would not be able to enter the profound Yin world directly. However, this golden ball of light could do it. The golden ball of light on his palm gradually moved closer to the Eastern Ocean Bell, as if it was looking for a place to reside in. Its light slowly seeped into the Eastern Ocean Bell and fused perfectly with it. Gradually, they became one. This action caused the Eastern Ocean Bell to emit a dazzling golden light. There was even an endless power of the Tao laws faintly spreading out from the bell. At the moment when the golden ball of light completely disappeared and fused into the Eastern Ocean Bell, Ning Fan held the bell in his hand and could clearly feel how each trace of the power of the Tao laws flowed inside the bell. With the Eastern Ocean Bell as a medium, Ning Fan finally saw what exactly the golden ball of light was. The true form of the golden ball of light was tens of thousands of threads of the Tao laws that were as thin as hair. Each of the threads of the Tao laws contained the Tao laws of the great Tao of void. After the golden ball of light disappeared, all of the threads of the Tao laws resided inside the Eastern Ocean Bell. The great Tao of void was a type of great Tao of space. It was a type of power that could control worlds. At the moment when the golden ball of light completely fused into the bell, the frozen space of the entire profound Yin world suddenly disappeared. Everything returned to normal. Ning Fan withdrew his initial shocked expression and stared at the small bell in his hand with a solemn expression. The Eastern Ocean Bell had already fused with the golden ball of light. Ning Fan was eager to know if there were any changes to the bell. Perhaps the power of the Eastern Ocean Bell would greatly increase after fusing with the power of the Tao laws of the golden ball of light. Ning Fan continuously made a few hand seals at the small bell, slightly activating the Eastern Ocean Bell to display its abilities. Circles of golden sound rings spread out from the Eastern Ocean Bell. The power of the sound rings was still at the level of a divine transformation realm attack. It was not much stronger than before. All of the power of the Tao laws in the golden ball of light was just sealed inside the bell. None of it was activated by Ning Fan. After several attempts, Ning Fan had no choice but to believe that the fusion of the Eastern Ocean Bell and the golden ball of light did not cause any changes to the magic treasure itself. During this process of fusion, the Eastern Ocean Bell merely acted as a container to contain all of the power of the Tao laws in the golden ball of light. These power of the Tao laws did not have any direct destructive power. However, they contained unimaginable Tao of void. Ning Fan held the small bell in his hand. His eyes were filled with unfathomable expressions as he pondered about various possibilities of making good use of the golden ball of light. He sat on the ground and held the bell with one of his hands. He stared at the small bell in silence. After a long time, Ning Fan suddenly made a decision. He drew out a golden thread that was as thin as a strand of hair from the Eastern Ocean Bell. His eyes turned cold, and he swallowed the golden thread in one gulp. This golden thread was naturally one of the countless threads of Tao laws in the golden ball of light. The moment he swallowed the thread of Tao laws, a wave of Tao power of void that was far beyond what Ning Fan could withstand exploded inside his body. Ning Fan closed his eyes tightly. His body felt like it was situated in the void of billions of miles. He was the only person in the vast void. He wanted to absorb the Tao power of void in his body bit by bit, but he realized that it was extremely difficult to do so. Ning Fan's initial plan was to try to refine this golden ball of light step by step and use it to increase his strength. However, he had underestimated the difficulty of refining the threads of Tao laws. After just swallowing a single thread of Tao laws, he immediately felt exhausted. The Tao power contained in a single thread of Tao laws was far beyond what a life-immortal realm expert could withstand. Even a true immortal who was proficient in this Tao would not dare to absorb it without permission. Ningfan had never studied the Great Tao of Void before. His understanding of the Great Tao of Void was still at the level of the whirlpool spatial technique. His body did not have the foundation of the Tao power of Void. Thus, it was naturally extremely difficult for him to absorb the Tao power of Void. The refinement of this single thread of Tao laws lasted for 10 whole days. After 10 days, Ningfan still had not succeeded in refining the slightest bit of the Tao power of Void. Instead, he suffered a lot of injuries from the backlash of the Tao power of Void in his body. Ningfan let out a long sigh. He knew that with his current Tao of Void, it was impossible for him to refine the countless threads of Tao laws in the golden ball of light. If he could refine all the threads of Tao laws in the golden ball of light, the benefits he could reap would certainly not be small. Today, however, he could only hold a mountain of treasures without getting anything in return. After dispersing all the Tao power of Void in his body, Ningfan began to heal his injuries. After another 3 days, his injuries were completely healed. He kept the Eastern Ocean Bell in his profound Yin world, and stood up with a sigh. Even though there were a lot of threads of Tao laws in the Eastern Ocean Bell, he did not have the fortune to enjoy them for the time being. If I gain some insights from studying the Tao of Void in the future, I can refine the threads of Tao laws in the Eastern Ocean Bell again. However, I can't do it now. I have already stayed in the profound Yin world for 13 days. I wonder if the commotion in the outside world has already subsided. Ningfan still wanted to look for that devil chi crystal. Thus, he naturally did not want to continue staying in the profound Yin world. After remaining silent for a while, Ningfan's figure flashed, and he left the profound Yin world, appearing in the starry sky of the Eastern Ocean Star region. This place was extremely far away from Eastern Ocean Star. In the nearby starry sky, there were figures hurriedly flying past. Some of these cultivators belonged to the Godly Void Pavilion, some belonged to the Four Fish sect, and some belonged to other Eastern Heaven forces. 13 days had passed since the end of the Great Battle. Currently, the Eastern Ocean Star region was in a state of martial law. Heaven, Earth, Profound and Yellow were 4 levels of martial law. Earth was the 2nd level of martial law. Foreign cultivators who enter or leave the Eastern Ocean Star region must be strictly inspected. However, Ningfan was already in the Eastern Ocean Star region. Thus, he did not need to be inspected. Most of the cultivators who were traveling in the Star River were at the Void Fragmentation realm. Occasionally, there would also be cultivators at the 2nd step. When Ningfan suddenly appeared in the Star River, he shocked many Void Fragmentation realm experts. However, when these people saw that Ningfan had a mid-ghost profound realm cultivation base, all of them were filled with reverence. None of them went forward to question him. Ningfan, however, took the initiative to step forward and stopped a Void Fragmentation realm cultivator of the Four Fish sect, trying to ask him a few questions. The person whom Ningfan stopped was a middle-aged scholar at the 2nd heavenly layer of the Void Fragmentation realm. His surname was Li. Even though he belonged to the Four Fish sect, his position in the sect was not high. Thus, he rarely had the chance to talk to a senior at the 2nd step. At this moment, when Ningfan stopped the scholar with the surname Li for questioning, he felt both nervous and excited. In his eyes, Ningfan was a high and mighty mid-ghost profound realm old monster. Any opportunity that Ningfan casually gave him would be enough for him to enjoy for the rest of his life. If senior has any doubts, please tell me. This junior will certainly tell you everything I know without holding back. This scholar with the surname Li had been stuck at the 2nd heavenly layer of the Void Fragmentation realm for a long time. He desired every opportunity to break through to the 3rd heavenly layer of the Void Fragmentation realm. In response to Ningfan's questions, he almost told him everything he knew. He only hoped that after his answers satisfied Ningfan, Ningfan would grant him some benefits. What Ningfan asked him was naturally the situation in the Eastern Heaven after the Great Battle. The Slaughter Palace did not suffer any impact from the chaos in the Eastern Heaven this time. Only a few slaughter pavilions were implicated and destroyed because the cultivation planets where they were located were destroyed by the Sun Luo tribe. To the dignified slaughter palace, such a loss was naturally not a big deal. The slaughter palace also did not take any action against the chaos in the eastern heaven this time. Instead, they just looked on coldly from the sidelines. In the chaos in the eastern heaven this time, the two star regions that suffered the greatest losses were the 9 Nether Star region and the Hongzhe Star region. The great sovereigns who were in charge of these 2 star regions had fallen one after another. It was just a matter of time when these 2 star regions would decline. It was not something that Ning Fan was concerned about. The Godly Void Pavilion also suffered heavy losses. It was said that before Sun Luo left the Heaven Realm, he had killed many old monsters in the Heaven Realm. In addition to the 2 immortal venerables who were killed by him previously, the Godly Void Pavilion had lost a total of 8 experts who were beyond the ancient times in this chaos. The heaven-suppressing bell was also still being repaired. It was said that the next bell sacrifice would be delayed. Among the 1 million cultivators of the 4-fish sect, 80 to 90% had already left. Only 10% of the cultivators remained in the Eastern Sea Star region to help with the repair of the heaven-suppressing bell. Regarding the Godly Void Pavilion, Ning Fan was still most concerned about the little demoness. Of course, because of Sun Luo, he also mentioned about Xiao Qianyu, who was resurrected by the Dao Remnant. In reply to Senior's question, the Godly Void Young Lord is currently in seclusion. It is said that he obtained a certain treasure that can remove the residual poison in his body. As for what kind of poison it is, I also do not know. I only know that this seclusion will last for at least a year. As for the newly resurrected female monarch of the Godly Void Pavilion, it is said that on the 2nd day after the Great Chaos ended, she left the Eastern Sea Star region on a gigantic beast. No one knows where she went. Xiao Qinyu has left the Eastern Sea Star region, huh? Ning Fan nodded his head slightly. Regarding Xiao Qinyu, he only asked a few more questions for Sun Luo's sake. As for the little demoness, he cared about her from the bottom of his heart. The little demoness was currently in seclusion. It seemed like she was planning to completely remove the poison in her body. This made Ning Fan feel at ease. Then he asked about some other questions. Ning Fan then asked about the situation of the Primal Pill Star region. Facing the Primal Pill Great Sovereign who was coveting his Yin Yang locket, Ning Fan was still unable to feel completely at ease. In reply to Senior, the Primal Pill Star region is currently in a heaven-grade martial law. Almost no cultivators are going out. All of them are busy repairing the domain gate of the Extreme Pill Sacred region. Scholarly answered respectfully. Repairing the domain gate of the Extreme Pill Sacred region? What do you mean? Ning Fan's expression changed. I also heard about it from my companions. According to rumors, the main culprit of the chaos in the Eastern Heaven this time, Sun Luo had taken away a secret treasure from the Primal Pill Star region. This treasure was originally the key item to open the domain gate of the Extreme Pill Sacred region. This item was borrowed by Sun Luo and was eventually destroyed, causing the domain gate of the Extreme Pill Sacred region to be damaged. The opening time of the sacred region will have to be delayed. It will take at least 100 years to repair the domain gate. In other words, the Extreme Pill Sacred region will not be opened within 100 years? Ning Fan frowned. It's like this. Moreover, I have received news that even if the domain gate is repaired, the number of cultivators entering the sacred region will probably be greatly reduced. Scholarly answered respectfully. Upon hearing this, Ning Fan's frown deepened. He originally planned to go to the medicine sect after stealing the Joss Flames in the Quicksand Star region and other places to prepare for entering the Extreme Pill Sacred region. Now, it seemed like the matter of entering the sacred region would be delayed for at least 100 years. Forget it. It's better to enter the sacred region later. The chaos in the Eastern Heaven this time has brought me a lot of opportunities and benefits. I need a lot of time to absorb and refine them. Besides, the other inheritance of Great Emperor Ancient Chaos is most likely in the Divine Tomb. If I'm not in a hurry to enter the sacred region, I can first obtain this inheritance. With that in mind, Ning Fan asked Scholarly a few more questions. Then he casually gave the latter a storage pouch and vanished in a flash. Scholarly scanned the storage pouch with his spirit sense. When he saw that there were 1 million Dao crystals in it, his heart could not help but beat wildly. He could not suppress the excitement in his heart. This senior is so generous. To him, 1,000,000 Dao crystals was an astronomical number. To Ningfan, 1,000,000 Dao crystals were insignificant and not worth mentioning. Ningfan flew all the way to the outer region of the Eastern Sea Star region. His speed was comparable to old monster Duzhen's. Even so, he only reached the outer region of the Eastern Sea Star region after flying at full speed for half a month. One had to admit that the Eastern Sea Star region was very vast. Only old monsters like Sun Luo could travel across the Imperial Star region in a few steps. With Ningfan's current speed, it was impossible for him to do so. The outer region of the Eastern Sea Star region was severely damaged. Many cultivation planets were destroyed by the residual waves of Sun Luo's magic techniques. There were even countless Divine Void Realm experts who died in this place. Ningfan's eyes were filled with azure rain intent. Bathing in the drizzle of the starry sky, he sped towards a certain half-ruined cultivation planet. In Ningfan's memory, after the heavenly devil who looked like Mo Luo died, the devil chi crystal that was formed from his body fell on this cultivation planet. This planet was called the Spirit Platform Star. The Star Lord was once an 8th heavenly layer void fragmentation realm expert. However, he died in the battle where he participated in the siege against Sun Luo. In that kind of battle, his 8th heavenly layer void fragmentation realm cultivation base seemed so insignificant. Thus, he was not valued by the godly void pavilion. There were almost no divine void realm cultivators patrolling this half-ruined spirit platform star. This half-ruined spirit platform star was currently suffering from the suffering of the war. The spirit platform star, Slanting Moon Mountain. This mountain was originally the abode of the spirit platform Star Lord. Today, after the death of the Star Lord in battle, the star was half destroyed. Then, it was attacked by devil beasts and turned into a devil abyss of hell. Devil beasts ran amok in the mountain range of 1,000,000 li around the Slanting Moon Mountain. Any cultivator who enters the range of the Slanting Moon Mountain would immediately be besieged by groups of devil beasts. Since a long time ago, the spirit platform star had been attacked by the local devil beasts. All along, the cultivators of the Spirit Platform Star had relied on the suppression of the Spirit Platform Star Lord to barely occupy this star. Due to the great chaos in the Eastern Heaven, the Spirit Platform Star Lord had fallen. There were even more Void Fragmentation Realm cultivators who died in the battle. With the current strength of the cultivators of the Spirit Platform Star, it was impossible for them to continue suppressing the attacks of the devil beasts. Unfortunately, the Godly Void Pavilion had too many big and small cultivation planets to take care of. They had no time to take care of such a small star at the edge. It couldn't be helped. The Eastern Sea Star region was too big, and there were too many cultivation planets. The situation this time was really too serious, causing the Godly Void Pavilion to have no time to deal with it. At this moment, at the foot of the Slanting Moon Mountain, a tall and skinny old man who wore apricot yellow Taoist robes was protecting a group of disciples and grand disciples, resisting the attacks of the group of devil beasts. This old man's name was Lu Zhou. He was once one of the 4 great guardians under the Spirit Platform Star Lord. His cultivation base was at the 4th heavenly layer of the Void Fragmentation Realm. He was the last batch of cultivators who evacuated from the Slanting Moon Mountain. He was trying to protect his disciples and grand disciples from the group of devil beasts' attacks. Lu Zhou did not understand why the devil beasts on the Spirit Platform Star would go crazy after the death of the Star Lord. They attacked the direction of the Slanting Moon Mountain without fear of death, trying to occupy this area. He loved watching the stars the most. On the day when the great battle broke out, he once saw a black starlight streaking across the sky and falling near the Slanting Moon Mountain. Perhaps, the chaos of the devil beasts on the Spirit Platform Star was related to that black starlight falling from the sky. However, these were not the things that Lu Zhou was most concerned about. At this moment, he only cared about one thing, and that was whether he could protect his disciples and grand disciples, and kill their way out of the devil beasts' encirclement. Among the devil beasts that surrounded them, there were 7 Void Fragmentation Realm devil beasts, and more than 300 Void Refinement Realm ferocious beasts. Among them, The one with the highest cultivation base was at the 5th heavenly layer of the void fragmentation realm. In this place he was the only void fragmentation realm human. The disciples and grand disciples behind him were mostly low-level disciples at the nascent soul realm and divine transformation realm. The 8 void refinement realm subordinates that he brought along had all been killed in battle. He was the only void fragmentation realm cultivator. Master, you should kill your way out of the encirclement by yourself. Don't care about us anymore. I don't want to drag you down. A late divine transformation realm burly man with curly beard said to Lu Zhou with a resolute expression. Nonsense. Who do you think I am? Even if I die, I will die. How can I leave all of you behind? If I die, let's die together. Lu Zhou shouted coldly. Once again, he used his sword to repel the attacks of the group of beasts. However, he was already on the verge of death. It was unknown how long he could hold on. Grandmaster, Qiner doesn't want to die. Quickly save me. Qiner still wants to get married. She still wants to marry Cousin Xiao. Why? Why isn't Cousin Xiao coming to save me? Sob sob sob. A beautiful girl in red robes watched as the tide of beasts approached her again and again. The fear in her eyes became more and more intense. She was merely a mid-nascent soul realm cultivator. She did not want to die in battle here. Shut up. Don't talk nonsense and distract me. The burly man with curly beard immediately rebuked the girl in red robes after hearing her words. However, his eyes were also gradually filled with despair. He could vaguely tell that even his master might not be able to kill his way out of the encirclement of the beasts today, let alone himself and the others. When Lu Zhou saw the despairing expressions of his disciples and grand disciples behind him, he let out a long sigh. He was already prepared to die. He held his sword horizontally, wanting to ignite his primordial spirit and perish together with the devil beasts in this place. At this moment, the devil beasts who were preparing to attack Lu Zhou suddenly revealed expressions of fear. They trembled uncontrollably and prostrated themselves on the ground. None of them dared to take a step forward or launch any attacks at Lu Zhou. This scene made Lu Zhou's expression change. He immediately realized that some sort of change had occurred on the battlefield. A skinny young man in snow-white robes suddenly appeared in the sky. He landed on the blood-stained battlefield just like that. When all the devil beasts saw him, they began to tremble even more violently. Stand down. Ningfan gave a cold order. The aura force in his words was enough to crush the entire sky of the spirit platform star. The thick demonic fog that shrouded the Crescent Mountain strangely dissipated because of his words. All of the devil beasts immediately acted as if they were facing a great enemy. In their eyes, the baleful qi in Ningfan's body was terrifying. He was a peerless devil lord whom they must never offend. The group of beasts scattered like the tide, as if they were afraid that if they were a step slower, they would lose their lives. Lu Zhou was stunned by this scene. He was born in the eastern sea star region. Although his cultivation wasn't high, he had seen a few second-step human profound realm seniors. But among the few human Xian seniors he had met in his life, none of them could scare off the magical beasts on the spirit platform star without revealing a trace of their aura. Lu Zhou firmly believed that the cultivation of this young man in white who had suddenly appeared was higher than the human Xian realm. He had most likely reached the ghost Xian realm. When Lu Zhou thought of the fact that a ghost profound life immortal realm senior had come to this place and saved his life, he was extremely excited. Tears of gratitude flowed down his face. He kept his sword and bowed deeply to Ningfan without saying anything. Senior's life-saving grace is like giving me a new lease on life. Junior is unable to repay this debt, even if I die 10,000 times. I am willing to do everything in my power to repay Senior's life-saving grace. No need. I want to enter this mountain for cultivation. All of you are not allowed to enter and disturb me. As soon as he finished speaking, Ningfan's figure flashed, and he flew towards the Crescent Mountain. The young lady in red robes who was talking about Cousin Xiao earlier felt as if her heart was about to be drunk when she saw Ningfan's appearance and aura. How could she still remember Cousin Xiao? If I can become Dao companions with this senior, I am willing to die. Nonsense. What kind of identity does this senior have? Is he someone whom a mere nascent soul realm cultivator, like you can dream about? Don't speak nonsense. Be careful not to offend this senior. As soon as he heard the words of the young lady in red robes, Lu Zhou immediately harumphed and reprimanded her. He was really afraid. With his eyesight, he could tell that Ning Fan was a cold-blooded and heartless devil cultivator at first glance. This kind of person had a strong cultivation base and could kill as he pleased. Once he is offended, the consequences would be unimaginable. Chapter 795. As for Lu Zhou and the others, Ning Fan just saved them out of convenience. He did not attach much importance to them. The reason why he saved Lu Zhou was because he admired Lu Zhou's determination to die rather than abandon a junior. That was all. With just a single step, he arrived at the deepest part of the oblique Moon Mountain range. There were many devil beasts in this mountain, but none of them dared to offend Ning Fan. The reason why these devil beasts were afraid of Ning Fan was not because of his powerful devil bloodline. Instead, they were just afraid of the baleful qi hidden in his body. Ever since Ning Fan had refined the ghost mask, the devil beasts in this place would never be able to sense the grade of his devil blood if he was unwilling to do so. The spirit platform star was a low-grade cultivation star. The strongest cultivators and devil beasts on the star were only at the void fragmentation realm. In the oblique Moon Mountain range, there were a total of 34 void fragmentation realm devil beasts. The one with the highest cultivation base had even reached the 7th heavenly layer of the void fragmentation realm. 7th heavenly layer of the void fragmentation realm. In the 9 worlds of the lower world, a 7th heavenly layer void fragmentation realm expert would definitely be considered as an earth-shattering figure. However, in front of the current Ning Fan, a 7th heavenly layer void fragmentation realm devil beast could only prostrate before him. It definitely did not have the courage to provoke him. Roar! The moment Ning Fan stepped into the oblique Moon Mountain range, a 7th level Shatterer devil beast let out a warning roar. It was not warning Ning Fan, but the beasts in the Crescent Mountain range. It was warning them to hide in their own nests and not to provoke Ning Fan no matter what. Ning Fan walked along a stream between the mountains and walked all the way to the mountainside. He also heard the demonic roar, but he didn't care. The demonic beasts he encountered along the way all prostrated themselves on the ground, not daring to make things difficult for him for fear of offending him. There were also quite a number of devil beasts that had transformed into their human forms. They stood in the middle of the bushes and bowed to Ning Fan respectfully. These devil beasts were the local devil race of the Lingtai Mountain. Even though they were enemies with the cultivators of the Lingtai Mountain, they did not dare to offend a second-step cultivator like Ning Fan. Ning Fan did not go on a killing spree on the spirit platform star. He did not harbor any enmity towards the devil race in this place. He only had one purpose in coming to this planet, and that was to obtain the devil chi crystal that had fallen on this planet. The source of the stream was a small jade green stone pond located halfway up the mountain. There was originally a row of bamboo buildings near the pool, left behind by the cultivators who once lived here. According to Ning Fan's senses, the devil chi crystal left behind by the heavenly devil had fallen into this pool. There was no overflowing devil chi like he had imagined. At this moment, the devil chi crystal sank to the bottom of the pond. Its color was dim, like an ordinary stone, and it did not attract any attention. First-step cultivators and demonic beasts simply could not sense anything unusual about this stone. The demonic beasts of the spirit platform star had gone on a rampage and besieged the Crescent Mountain range, all for the sake of the demonic chi crystal. Unfortunately, no one knew where the crystal was. What Lu Zhou didn't know was that the black meteor he saw when he was observing the stars that day was the demonic aura crystal. What the beasts did not know was that the heavenly demonic crystal that they had painstakingly searched for in the Crescent Mountain was in this inconspicuous stone pond. When Ning Fan arrived at the small stone pond, there were 2 little girls playing in the water. The 2 little girls looked to be less than 3 years old. One of them had pigtails and a pink headband. She was wearing a red dress and a red coat. The other had her hair tied up and had a big black bow on her head. She was wearing a black jacket and skirt. Her red lips and white teeth made her look extremely adorable. They were barefooted in the water. The water was just above their calves. There was a faint flow of demonic chi on their bodies. It was very faint, but it couldn't escape Ningfan's eyes. Ningfan could tell at a glance that these two little girls were devils. Although there was demonic chi on their bodies, it was extremely weak. It was only equivalent to the first or second level of the vein-opening realm. The two little girls were originally playing in the water. When they saw Ningfan suddenly appear, they were startled. After seeing the appearance of the person who came, the two little girls heaved a sigh of relief. The one with pigtails giggled and said in a childish voice, "Yunyan was scared to death. Yunyan was scared to death. I thought it was Elder, but it turns out that it was the second step cultivator that Elder mentioned. Fortunately, it isn't Grandpa. Grandpa never allows us to play in the water. He will punish us every time we see it. Grandpa said that before we reach the harmonious spirit realm, we must stay away from all water sources. Once the devil fire in our hearts is extinguished, we will lose our lives. Hee, since it isn't Grandpa, let's continue playing. Chin loves playing with water the most. Aya, should we greet this second step big brother? Let's go. Grandpa said that we must be polite when meeting guests. Let's go greet the guests quickly." The little girl with a butterfly knot on her head cheered and jumped in the stone pond. She pulled the other little girl along as they stepped on the water, and ran towards Ningfan without the slightest bit of fear. The two little girls of the devil race naturally heard the warning of the devil roar, but they didn't think much of it. The devil roar was issued by their grandpa. He repeatedly warned the devils of the Crescent Mountain to never offend Ningfan, this second step old monster. Unfortunately, the two little girls in the pond were still very young. How could they understand the meaning of the second step? To them, vein opening, harmonious spirit, and second step were extremely unfamiliar terms that they couldn't understand. To them, there was no one in this world that was more terrifying than their grandpa. After all, when their grandpa was angry, he would hit their palms. Moreover, in the eyes of the two little girls, Ningfan looked like a kind person who could be bullied by others. He didn't look like an evil person at all. "Hello, big brother of the second step. I'm Chin. She's my younger sister. Her name is Yinyan." The little girl who had a butterfly knot on her head walked towards Ningfan barefooted, while pulling the other little girl, and said in a childish voice. Ningfan was slightly stunned. Then he looked at the two little girls in front of him with great amusement. All the devils in the mountains and plains feared him like a tiger, and avoided him from 1,000 li. However, these two little girls weren't afraid of him at all. They even called him Big Brother of the Second Step. It was really interesting. Presumably, these two little girls had heard the devil roar just now and knew that he had the cultivation base of the second step. However, they didn't understand the meaning of the second step at all. "Aren't you too afraid of me?" Ningfan asked with a smile. "Why should we be afraid?" The two little girls asked back, with a puzzled look. "Why?" Ningfan was stunned. Then he laughed involuntarily. That's right. Why did these two little girls have to be afraid of him? Was it because his cultivation base was high? Was it because he could easily take the lives of all the devils in this place? Why did those with low cultivation base have to be afraid of those with high cultivation base? Why did the common people have to be afraid of those who were high and mighty? It's right that you two aren't afraid of me. However, the rules of this world are wrong. Ningfan smiled and then sighed. After hearing Ningfan's sigh that carried a profound meaning, the two little girls wore blank expressions, expressing their puzzlement. Ningfan did not expect the two little girls to understand him. Then he smiled at them and said, "You two are still young. You're so young. Why are you playing here alone? Don't let your parents worry." When he said that, he originally wanted the two girls to go home obediently. However, as soon as he said that, the two girls' expressions turned gloomy. Their eyes turned red and they sobbed. Father was killed by the spirit platform Star Lord. Mother wanted to snatch father's corpse back, but the spirit platform Star Lord extracted her primordial spirit and refined it into a pill. Ningfan's heart was slightly moved. He kept his smile and looked at the sky with a gloomy expression. The spirit platform Star Lord was the leader of the cultivators of the spirit platform star. However, he was also the nightmare of the devil race. When war broke out, there would be orphans among the cultivators. Those who lost their parents in the devil race were also orphans. After a while, Ning Fan squatted down and wiped away the tears of the two little girls. Are there any elders in your family? There's also Grandpa. Is that so? I want to take something from this stone pond. The process might be a little dangerous. Can you two leave this place temporarily and go home to find your grandpa to avoid the danger here? No. I don't want to leave yet. I haven't played enough. Yin Yin shook her head like a rattle drum and pouted her lips to express her objection. She had not played enough, and she did not want to leave at all. Brother, you want to take something from this stone pond? What is it? Will it really be dangerous? Do we really need to avoid it? Qin Qin did not object to it. She wiped her tears and asked carefully. Yes. There will be some danger. I can't tell you what it is. However, I can tell you that the surroundings of this pond might be attacked soon. It's better for you to go home and avoid it. Of course, if you really don't want to leave, you can hide behind me. I will protect you. Having said that, Ning Fan stood up and looked at the two little girls with a smile. There were some hidden dangers in the Devil Chi crystal. The process of taking the crystal might be a little dangerous. Ning Fan had been repeatedly checking the Devil Chi crystal along the way. After repeated checks, Ning Fan was sure that with his current cultivation base, it wouldn't be difficult for him to eliminate the hidden devil in the Devil Chi crystal and retrieve the crystal. If the two little girls were unwilling to leave, he would not force them. To him, it wasn't difficult to protect the two little girls during the process of taking the crystal. Ning Fan didn't hate the two little girls with pure hearts. Instead, he liked them a little, even if they were born in the devil race. What he liked was the purity of the two little girls' hearts. They weren't tainted by the laws of the world. Ning Fan had always been indifferent to the difference between the three races. In his opinion, the devil was cultivation. Only those who are inclusive can control everything. The cultivation principle of the yin-yang transformation was to embrace everything that could be used. This point had long been integrated into Ning Fan's Tao sense. Just as Ning Fan's voice faded, the anxious voice of an old man suddenly resounded in the sky. Senior, please forgive them. They are my granddaughters. They are young and ignorant. If they said something wrong and offended you, I hope that you will be magnanimous and don't lower yourself to the same level as the two little girls. As soon as the voice faded, a seventh heavenly layer void fragmentation realm red-haired old man descended from the sky, stepping on a flaming devil cloud. He was wearing a flaming armor. The moment he landed, he immediately shielded the two little girls behind him and cupped his fists at Ning Fan. His expression was extremely nervous. The chi of this old man was obviously the same chi as the devil beast that let out the devil roar. They were the same person. Ning Fan's eyes flickered. He knew that this devil was the fire devil that let out the devil roar. He was also the grandfather of the two little girls. Grandfather, why are you here? The two little girls asked nervously as soon as they saw the old man. They were worried that the old man would punish them for playing in the water. Shut up. Don't ask a single question. The red-haired old man fiercely scolded the two girls. His expression was full of concern and nervousness. He gritted his teeth and said respectfully to Ning Fan, "Since Senior has something to do, I will not disturb you anymore. I will leave with the two little girls now." He was afraid. He was afraid that his two ignorant girls would offend the fiend Ning Fan and lose their lives. How could the two little girls understand these things? When they heard the stern tone of their grandfather, their eyes immediately turned red. However, they did not dare to cry. Obviously, they were extremely afraid of him. Ning Fan shook his head and said, "It's all right. It's good to have you here. You stay here with the two little girls and hide Tenjong behind me. Don't move recklessly. Later, I will take an item from the stone pond. This process might trigger a strange phenomenon of devil chi. It will be very beneficial to the two little girls." Devil chi overflow. After hearing Ning Fan's words, the red-haired old man's expression changed. His eyes were filled with disbelief. The so-called devil chi overflow was a phenomenon that could only be triggered after the death of a second-step devil beast. After the death of a second-step devil beast, the enormous magic power in its body would have a certain chance to turn into a devil chi overflow phenomenon. the range of the phenomenon would not be too wide. If there were low-grade devils who had yet to reach the harmonious spirit realm within the range, they would be blessed by the devil chi. Their meridians and marrow would be cleansed and they would obtain great benefits, which could greatly improve their potential in devil cultivation. Of course, the phenomenon of devil chi overflow would not appear so easily. Only a few powerful devil beasts could cause such a phenomenon after their death. The red-haired old man did not know why Ningfan came to the oblique moon mountain range. He also did not know if Ningfan could really trigger the devil chi overflow phenomenon to bring some good fortune to his two granddaughters. He only knew that Ningfan was extremely strong, and he was not someone he could fight. He must not offend. If Ningfan did not allow him to leave, he would not dare to leave the area of the stone pond. The red-haired old man sighed softly. He held the two little boys in each of his hands and stood 10 zhang away from Ningfan's back according to his order. The two little boys looked at their grandfather who had a nervous and fearful expression, feeling puzzled. In their impression, their grandfather did not show much fear even when he saw the spirit platform Star Lord. They could not understand why their grandfather would be so afraid of Ningfan. Ningfan obviously looked like a harmless big brother. "What's your name?" Ningfan did not turn around, but his voice went into the red-haired old man's ears. "Junior's name is Kulong. I'm a devil beast of the Fire Devil clan." The red-haired old man immediately answered nervously after hearing Ningfan's question. "Kulong, is it? You have already taken half a step into the 8th heavenly layer of the void fragmentation realm, by tempering your primordial spirit with devil flames. The reason why you are stuck at the bottleneck and could not break through is not because of the power of the flames, but because of the essence of the flames," Ningfan said indifferently. Suddenly he waved his hand. Black devil flames rushed out from his sleeves and instantly condensed into a gigantic flaming palm above the stone pond. Then he slapped it hard. As soon as he slapped the palm, endless waves of fire immediately surged out in circles. However, they were surrounded by Ningfan and sealed within the area of the stone pond. The waves of fire suddenly turned into black fiery butterflies. They were so fine that even the stripes on their wings could be seen clearly. The fiery butterflies rushed into the pond. Strangely, they did not have any reaction with the water. Each of these fiery butterflies had an astonishing temperature. However, they did not cause any evaporation of the pond water. "This is..." Kulong's eyes widened in surprise. He had never seen such an exquisite fire control technique. When two objects come into contact with each other, the one with a higher temperature would always transfer heat to the one with a lower temperature. However, the fiery butterflies that were transformed from Ningfan's flames did not lose any of their heat. The scorching heat did not transfer to the pond water at all. Naturally, the pond water did not evaporate at all. This kind of exquisite fire control technique might not be unfamiliar to second-step cultivators. However, to Kulong, it was the first time he had seen something like this in his life. The reason why he could not break through to the 8th heavenly layer of the void fragmentation realm was precisely because he lacked the ability to control fire. The moment he saw Ningfan's fire control technique, Kulong felt as if a new door had opened in front of him. This door would lead him all the way to the 8th heavenly layer of the void fragmentation realm. "Thank you for your guidance, Senior." This sentence was stuck in Kulong's throat. Before he could say it out, his expression changed greatly. He looked at the stone pond not far away with fear. When the fiery butterflies entered the stone pond, it immediately caused a huge change. Visible substantial devil chi rushed out from the stone pond in a frenzy. In the center of the devil chi, a stone with a dim light flew high up into the sky. At first, the stone was dim. A moment later, it suddenly shone with bright light and turned into a sparkling and translucent devil chi crystal. As soon as the crystal was formed, the devil chi in the surrounding area suddenly rushed towards the crystal and attached to it. Then, it transformed into a 30 zhang large devil head and kept the crystal inside its body. This devil head did not have a mouth or eyes. There were 2 embryonic horns on its head which had yet to fully grow. There were also 6 bald wings on its back. However, they were still far from fully grown. Even so, the aura force of this devil had almost reached the mid-human profound realm. This is an early human profound realm devil creature. Its cultivation base is already close to breaking through the early human profound realm and attaining the mid-human profound realm. Kulong said in disbelief. He never knew that there was actually a second-step devil creature hiding in the nameless stone pond of the tilting Moon Mountain range. Even though this devil creature was only at the early human profound realm, it gave Kulong a feeling that it was invincible. The two little girls also became afraid. Even though they were insensible little children, they were still members of the devil race after all. They could instinctively feel how terrifying the devil creature in front of them was. It was even scarier than their elder and the spirit platform Star Lord. Just when Kulong and the two little girls were terrified, Ning Fan's calm voice suddenly entered their ears. Don't be afraid. It's just a devil creature that has reached the end of its road. His tone was filled with slight disdain. Suddenly, he raised his hand and more devil flames condensed into a palm of fire. Then, he slapped the devil creature that had just taken form. With just a single palm strike, a dignified early human profound realm devil creature was directly smashed into pieces. Devil chi sizzled and disappeared in the vast sky. Killing a human profound realm devil creature with a single palm strike? How is this possible? That's a human profound realm devil creature. Kulong cried out in disbelief. The two little girls, on the other hand, were completely dumbfounded. They were like two exquisitely carved porcelain dolls, not moving at all. After killing this devil creature, Ning Fan's hand moved at lightning speed. He directly held the devil chi crystal in his hand and felt the vast devil chi within it. This crystal is a little strange, Ning Fan muttered. Chapter 796. Ning Fan did not continue to examine the crystal. He kept the crystal and calmly looked at the vast sky. An oval-shaped crack of devil chi gradually appeared in the sky. Purple-brown devil chi spread out from the crack and immediately enveloped the land within a radius of 10,000 li. Suddenly, a gigantic devil shadow appeared in the sky above the slanting Moon Mountain range. The moment the devil shadow appeared, 9 purple-brown vortexes appeared in the sky. An indescribable great divine ability immediately descended on the land within 10,000 li of the slanting Moon Mountain range. At this moment, in the Crescent Mountain, all the demonic creatures who saw this strange phenomenon were shocked. Many of them had heard about the phenomenon of devil chi pouring into one's head, but they never thought that they could witness it with their own eyes. Qin and Yunyun's bodies suddenly became warm. Their pink and tender skin emitted a strange fiery light. A mark of fire appeared on their glabella. That was the sign of being a fire devil. The two children felt a warm force constantly flowing into their bodies. It was extremely comfortable, but they did not know why. Kulong, who was at the side, looked at his two granddaughters with surprise and joy. Devil chi pouring into one's head. It's really devil chi pouring into one's head. These two little girls are going to have great fortune in the future. I'm afraid it's very likely for them to break through to the second step of their cultivation realm in this lifetime. Ning Fan did not even look at Kulong. He just stared at the devil chi in the sky and shook his head slightly. His eyes were filled with dissatisfaction. It's still not enough. The devil chi is too scattered. I need to gather more. As soon as he finished speaking, he raised his hand and clawed at the sky. The devil chi that stretched for 10,000 li immediately gathered crazily with the rocky pond as the center. The area covered by the phenomenon decreased rapidly. From 10,000 miles, it gradually became 1,000 miles, 100 miles, 10 miles. In the end, under Ning Fan's control, the strange phenomenon of devil chi pouring into the two children's bodies only covered a radius of 100 zhang around the rocky pond. As the area covered by the strange phenomenon decreased, more devil chi poured into the two children's bodies. Naturally, the effect of their meridians and marrow cleansing became more obvious. Kulong looked at Ning Fan in disbelief. He could not imagine that Ning Fan could not only kill a human profound devil lord with a single palm strike, and induce the strange phenomenon of devil chi pouring into one's head. Moreover, he could also reduce the area of the strange phenomenon with a great ability, and increase the effect of devil chi pouring into one's head. It's impossible that this senior is just at the human profound realm. I'm afraid that he has already stepped into the second half of the life immortal realm. The profound ghost realm. Mysterious ghost life immortal. Kulong's heart fiercely jumped. In his mind, the human profound life immortal was already a rare powerhouse in Eastern Sky, and the ghost profound life immortal was even more of a supreme existence. Guixian could be considered the overlord of a middle or low-rank starfield. Even in an imperial star region like the East Peak star region, not everyone would dare offend Guixian. The East Peak star system was the territory of the Godly Void Pavilion. There were a total of 180,000 cultivation planets, and countless large and small sects that were all under the jurisdiction of the Godly Void Pavilion. In the Eastern Peak Galaxy, sects were divided into 10 levels. The 1st to the 5th grade were forces at the Gold Core Realm, or the Void Fragmentation Realm. The 6th to 10th ranks were the Life Immortals and the Eternal Immortals. In the past, the most powerful organization on Spirit Altar Planet had been the Tilting Moon Sect, led by Starlord Spirit Altar, an 8th Demolisher. In the Godly Void Pavilion, the Slanted Moon Sect was only a 5th-level sect. Only a power with a life immortal overseeing it could be classified as a 6th-level sect. 1st to 5th-level sects were low-level sections. The Godly Void Pavilion would normally not bother with them. 6th-level sects and above had the right to select their cultivators to enter their main sect. 8th-level sects and above had the right to participate in the election for the position of an elder of the Godly Void Pavilion. Ghost Realm cultivators like Ning Fan were usually old ancestor-level figures in 6th-level sections. Normally, Kulong almost did not have any chance to meet an old monster like Ning Fan. Suddenly, a bold idea emerged in Kulong's mind. His eyes flashed with determination. He cupped his fists and bowed to Ning Fan. First, he expressed his thanks to Ning Fan for teaching him the fire ignition technique and helping the two children with devil chi. After thanking him, Kulong took a deep breath and said to Ning Fan, "May I ask if Senior has the intention to accept disciples? Are you willing to find a disciple and teach them your Tao inheritance?" "Accept disciples? Are you referring to them?" Ning Fan looked at the two children and asked. Yes. Kulong was extremely excited. He could already see that Ning Fan was extremely fond of these two little girls. Naturally, he could not wait for Ning Fan to accept them as disciples. If these two children could have a Ghost Realm master, their future would certainly be limitless. It's not a good thing to receive my Tao inheritance. Let's not talk about this anymore. Ning Fan rejected him flatly. Senior, do you dislike their identity as the devil race? Kulong asked with a bitter smile. Ning Fan shook his head and did not answer him. He just asked Kulong to bring the two children away. He ordered Kulong to withdraw all the devil beasts to the outer area of the Oblique Moon Mountain Range. No one was allowed to enter the inner area without permission. He wanted to cultivate in seclusion here. He did not tell Kulong that the reason why he was unwilling to accept disciples was not because of their identity as the devil race. It was just that he was unwilling to pass down his Tao inheritance of the Sea of Blood and Slaughter to them. Ning Fan had only accepted 2 disciples in his life. Both of them were because of his pill refinement techniques. He had never accepted a real disciple and imparted a real Tao inheritance to them. His path of cultivation was too cruel. It was filled with too many sins and massacres. He was unwilling to pass down his Tao inheritance, especially to these 2 pure children who had pure hearts to walk on his path of slaughter. Kulong envied Ning Fan's strength while Ning Fan envied the 2 children's innocence and innocence. He could not bear to destroy them. The reason why the 2 children's eyes were pure was not because they were ignorant. They had seen their parents die tragically, and they had seen cultivators kill each other. However, their hearts were still pure because they yearned for the beautiful things in their hearts. Vaguely, Ning Fan recalled that year and that month in the all-pleasure sect. The young girl who begged him to not die also had such a pure and clear expression. Jiha. Ning Fan's eyes were filled with fear. At this moment, he thought of Jiha, Yu Country and the Rain World. He thought of the ups and downs that he had gone through along the way. He thought of the women who had quietly walked past him in his life. He thought of his master, his parents and the enemies that he had killed out of anger. The beast tide retreated from the inner area of the Oblique Moon Mountain Range according to Ning Fan's order. As the sun set, The sound of the zither of the Song of Yuren suddenly resounded from the edge of the small stone pond in the depths of the oblique Moon Mountain range. The sound of the zither did not stop even when it was late at night. On the second day, a cave dwelling was opened up on the stone wall beside the small stone pond. The owner of the cave dwelling was none other than Ningfan. He decided to stay at the oblique Moon Mountain range for the time being to sort out his gains from this trip. Ningfan had gained quite a lot of benefits during his journey with Sun Luo. His cultivation base had advanced to the mid-ghost profound realm, and his ancient divine heart orifice had opened up to the third orifice. Not only that, he also obtained a golden ball of light that was filled with the Tao Law of the Void, a soul refining pill, a void token and a devil chi crystal. Of course, there were also losses. The ancient devil puppet was severely damaged. It needed to be repaired properly before it could be used again. The first thing that Ningfan needed to deal with was the soul refining pill. It was a supreme treasure that could increase the power of his medicine soul. He did not consume the pill immediately. Instead, he first went into seclusion for 10 days to carefully comb the power of his medicine soul. Cultivating the Tao was like rowing a boat against the current. If you don't advance, you will fall behind. It had been a long time since Ningfan concocted pills and used the power of his medicine soul. Thus he was a little rusty. Tens of thousands of five-colored butterflies circled around his body. All of them were formed by the power of his medicine soul. 10 days later, Ningfan entered the profound Yin world with the soul refining pill. 1 month later, Ningfan left the profound Yin world. Even though the level of his medicine soul was still very weak, it was already at the high-grade 7th revolution. 5 soul refining pills that were at the 9 revolutions golden pill level allowed his medicine soul to break through all the way to the mid-grade 7th revolution. Ningfan was very satisfied with the improvement of his medicine soul. However, the weakness of the power of his medicine soul gave Ningfan a huge headache. There were 2 ways to quickly condense one's medicine soul. One was to continuously concoct pills while the other was to constantly use his battle soul abilities. Both of them could gradually condense the medicine soul during the process of continuously using his medicine soul. Ningfan chose the latter method. He had killed a cultivator of the Pill Ancestor sect before. Thus, he also had a few kinds of battle soul secret techniques. Even though they were not strong, they were enough to temper his medicine soul. For 3 whole months, Ningfan cultivated his battle soul technique in the inner area of the Crescent Mountain. The group of devils in the outer area often sensed the fluctuations of Ningfan's abilities. At first, they were quite surprised. What surprised them was that Ningfan was actually a 7th revolution pill refinement master, whose grade was not low. Later on, they no longer found it strange. During these 3 months, Kulong would bring Qin and Yunyan to look for Ningfan from time to time. It was not that Kulong was audacious enough to disobey Ningfan's order and enter the inner area without permission. It was just that the 2 little kids were too troublesome. They insisted on coming to the inner area to play with Ningfan. Kulong could not bear it, and could only bring the 2 girls to look for Ningfan. Besides, Kulong still had some selfish motives. In his opinion, even if Ningfan was unwilling to take the 2 girls as his disciples, as long as he gave them some opportunities, it would be enough for them to enjoy for the rest of their lives. Ningfan had never exposed Kulong's thoughts. Ningfan was also really fond of the 2 little kids. Therefore, every time they came, Ningfan would give them some pills to help them cleanse their meridians and cleanse their marrows. After that, the 2 girls would play by themselves in the small rock pond while Ningfan would fly to the highest peak of the Crescent Mountain range, the flying mountain peak, to cultivate his battle soul technique. Gradually, Ningfan's medicine soul had already been completely condensed. Thus, cultivating the battle soul technique was no longer meaningful. He began to stay in his cave dwelling for seclusion. He held the devil chi crystal in his hand and closed his eyes to meditate. He had already checked the crystal repeatedly. Its effect was vastly different from what he initially thought. On that day, after the heavenly devil who resembled the Mo Luo Great Land died in the Sun Luo Great Land, he left this crystal behind. In the beginning, Ningfan thought that the crystal would more or less contain some opportunities that could help him improve his ancient devil cultivation realm. However, After some time, Ning Fan realized that there was something strange about this crystal. It was not beneficial for improving his ancient devil cultivation realm, but it had other uses. The real use of this crystal was to transform into a devil head. If Ning Fan's guess was not wrong, this crystal was most likely a rare immortal, or called illusory devil crystal. The air in the cave dwelling was damp, and there were a lot of dark green moss growing on it. After the group of devils invaded the Crescent Mountain range, the air in this place was filled with devil chi that could not be dispersed. Ning Fan remained silent for a while. All of a sudden, he waved his hand and gathered all the devil chi in the cave dwelling into his palm, condensing it into a black ball of light. Then he raised his hand and made the illusory devil crystal fly high up into the sky. With a flick of his finger, the devil chi ball of light shot towards the crystal. Immediately, the crystal let out a sizzling sound and absorbed the devil chi in the ball of light bit by bit. Then it began to change. The devil chi on the surface of the crystal gradually transformed into the shadow of a one-zhang large devil head. The body of the devil head was illusory. It had no mouth or eyes. It had no horns on its head and no wings on its back. Its cultivation realm was roughly at the first level of the vein opening realm. The crystal was kept in the devil head's dantian. Ning Fan waved his hand again and gathered all the devil chi within 100 li radius into the crystal. The body of the devil head became more solid bit by bit. Its aura force also increased bit by bit. From the first level of the vein opening realm, it advanced all the way to the 7th level of the vein opening realm. After pondering for a while, Ning Fan gathered all the devil chi within 100,000 li radius into the crystal. The body of the devil head became more solid. Its cultivation realm also advanced to the mid-harmonious spirit realm. Moreover, a young horn began to grow on its head. 6 bald devil wings began to grow on its back. Ning Fan's expression changed. All of a sudden, he raised his hand and absorbed all the devil chi in the air of the entire spirit platform star into his cave dwelling. After absorbing all the devil chi in the entire star, the body of the devil head had become completely solid. Moreover, it had grown to 2 zhang tall. Its cultivation realm had also reached the late divine transformation realm. Ning Fan looked at the devil head in front of him. Suddenly, his eyes flashed with the devil light of his ancestral blood. With a sway of his body, he directly flew up and appeared in front of the devil head. He raised one of his fingers and pressed it on the top of the devil head. That finger contained all the ancient devil essence chi in his body. At this moment, the ancient devil chi force of the 4th heavenly layer of the Sichen realm swept across the entire Tilting Moon Mountain range. At the periphery of the Tilting Moon Mountain range, all the devil beasts that sensed Ning Fan's monstrous devil chi began to tremble. This time, they were instinctively afraid of the terrifying bloodline aura force in Ning Fan's body. They did not know the exact level of that aura force. They only felt that the aura force was as heavy as a mountain, making them unable to resist it. Once again, Kalong was shocked. It was very hard for him to imagine that Ning Fan actually possessed such powerful devil blood. Inwardly, he guessed that Ning Fan's devil blood was at the king grade. He only dared to make guesses in his mind. Naturally, he did not have the courage to ask Ning Fan directly. Inside the cave dwelling, Ning Fan sent all of his essence chi into the devil head's body. After absorbing all of his essence chi, the devil head's aura force instantly rose to the peak human profound realm. His body grew to 4 zhang tall. Horns completely grew out of his head, and the skeletal structure of his 6 wings had also formed. His facial features gradually took shape. His appearance was actually extremely similar to that of Great Emperor Mo Luo. The moment the devil head grew his eyes, he immediately saw Ning Fan in front of him. In just an instant, his eyes burst out with unimaginable fury just because he saw the enemy that he had been thinking about day and night. "I've finally found you, Junior. I'm one of the 6 great crystal slaves of Great Emperor Mo Luo, Qinye Mo Luo. In the past, you destroyed 30% of my master's devil sense. Today, I will make you pay with your blood." Chapter 797. After the Devil Lord roared, he immediately took a huge step forward. His body emitted cracking sounds, and his right arm immediately became twice as thick. He then slammed his palm towards Ning Fan's head. He was just a few feet away from Ning Fan, and his attack was as fast as lightning. He expected that Ning Fan would not be able to avoid the destructive power of his palm. Thus, he attacked with infinite confidence to kill Ning Fan. According to the information he received, Ning Fan was just a divine transformation realm junior. That palm was enough to kill him 10,000 times. He did not know that Ning Fan was not the divine transformation realm junior in his memory, and had already stepped into the second step of Dao cultivation. Thousand Leaves Devil Luo Ha! Ning Fan's eyes turned cold. He suddenly raised his sword and slashed at the incoming devil palm. A ray of sword light flashed, and the Devil Lord's right arm was directly cut off by Ning Fan. The severed arm fell to the ground and turned into devil chi with a sizzling sound. Black blood splattered all over the ground and instantly froze into ice. That sword was Ning Fan's Dao weapon, memory-severing Dao sword. It's actually a Dao weapon. You're not a divine transformation realm cultivator. You're a ghost profound realm cultivator. After his arm was cut off, the Devil Lord let out a muffled groan and retreated a few zhang. He held his severed arm and stared at Ning Fan in disbelief. According to the information he received, Ning Fan was just a divine transformation realm cultivator. How could he possibly be a ghost profound realm cultivator? He could not understand this at all. Knowing that he was not Ning Fan's opponent now, he got rid of his distracting thoughts and made a prompt decision. He turned into a devil rainbow and flew out of the cave, trying to escape from this place. Do you think you can escape? Ning Fan snorted coldly. Black flames flashed under his feet, and he instantly disappeared from the spot. With a single step, he went out of the cave and blocked the devil's path. Without saying a word, he slashed down with his sword. As soon as the sword slashed down, 108,000 illusory sword shadows immediately appeared in the sky. Before the Devil Lord could react, his heart was pierced by the sword shadows. His life force dissipated, and he died a violent death. After his death, his corpse began to turn into devil chi and dissipate just like his severed arm. Ning Fan's expression changed. He kept the sword shadows in the sky and moved his finger at lightning speed, pressing it on the Devil Lord's corpse. Ning Fan had used the heaven sealing technique to freeze the corpse of the Devil Lord, not allowing it to dissipate into devil chi and dissipate. With a slash of the sword light, the blood-stained crystal was gouged out from the demon's dantian. With another slash, the demon's head was cut off. Ning Fan kept his Dao weapon. With a flick of his finger, he released devil flames and incinerated the corpse of the Devil Lord. Then he brought the crystal and the head of the Devil Lord back to his immortal cave. From the moment the devil was completely formed to the moment Ning Fan killed it, only a few breaths had passed. The group of demons in the periphery of the Crescent Mountain Range could only sense the intense fluctuations of divine arts coming from the inner region. They had no idea what was happening in the inner region. Inside the immortal cave, Ning Fan threw the head of the Devil Lord onto the stone table. Then, he stared at the illusory devil crystal in his hand with an extremely solemn expression. Sure enough, this crystal was indeed an illusory magic crystal. After Ning Fan arrived at the Tilting Moon Mountain Range, he had killed 2 devil creatures that were related to crystals. In fact, the 2 of them were the same devil creature that resembled Great Emperor Mo Luo. The illusory devil crystal was an extremely rare immortal ore. If a devil cultivator obtains this crystal, he or she could use a secret technique of the devil Dao to refine this crystal, and use it to refine an illusory devil body. If Ning Fan was not mistaken, the Devil Lord named Qinya Mo Luo was the illusory devil body that Great Emperor Mo Luo had personally refined using the illusory devil crystal. The devil body that was refined using the illusory devil crystal would not really die unless the crystal is destroyed. To the devil body, the illusory devil crystal was the primordial spirit, the heart and everything that they had. Each time the illusory devil body dies, as long as it replenishes enough devil chi, it could come back to life and continue serving its master. Sun Luo had killed this Devil Lord once before. At that time, the illusory devil crystal had fallen onto the spirit platform star. After absorbing a certain amount of devil chi, the Devil Lord barely managed to be reborn, and revealed an early mortal profound realm cultivation base. It was an incomplete rebirth. As a result, he was killed by Ning Fan once again. This time, Ning Fan personally transferred devil chi into the crystal, allowing the Devil Lord to be reborn for the third time. Since the amount of devil chi was far from enough, it was still an incomplete rebirth. Even though the Devil Lord was killed by Ning Fan again, as long as the crystal was not destroyed, it would not be considered as truly dead. As long as it absorbs enough devil chi, it could still be reborn. The illusory devil crystal could be used to refine the illusory devil body. It was highly sought after by devil cultivators, and could be considered as a supreme treasure of the devil Tao. Each piece of illusory devil crystal could only be refined once. If it is refined for the second time, it would be destroyed. The cultivation base of the devil body that was refined could not surpass that of the devil cultivator himself. The cultivation base of the devil body could not be increased through cultivation. Once it is refined, it would not be able to increase its cultivation base. This piece of crystal had already been refined by Great Emperor Mo Luo once. It was no longer useful to Ning Fan. However, the head of the Devil Lord was still useful to Ning Fan. The illusory devil body of Great Emperor Mo Luo, Soul Search. Ning Fan put down the crystal. His eyes flashed with a cold light. He raised his hand and held the head of the Devil Lord, using the soul search and memory erasure technique. He closed his eyes and sent his consciousness into the Devil Lord Sea of Consciousness. There were a total of 9 layers of seals in the Devil Lord Sea of Consciousness. Each layer of the seal contained memories of different degrees of importance. Ning Fan first tore open the first layer of the seal in the Devil Lord Sea of Consciousness, and began to read this part of the memories. According to the memories, the name of this Devil Lord was Thousand Leaves Devil Luo. He was one of the 6 great crystal slaves created by Great Emperor Mo Luo. The so-called crystal slave had the same meaning as the illusory devil body. The only difference was the name. In Great Emperor Mo Luo's life, he had obtained 10 pieces of illusory devil crystals in total. All of them were used to refine the illusory devil body. He failed 4 times and succeeded 6 times. Great Emperor Mo Luo had another 5 crystal slaves like the Thousand Leaves Devil Luo. All of them had cultivation bases that were beyond the ancient times. The memories from the first layer of the seal came to an end. Ning Fan then displayed his ability, and tore open the second layer of the seal on the Thousand Leaves Devil Luo's memory. According to the memories, the Thousand Leaves Devil Luo had borrowed the power of the Well of Contract, and descended to the Eastern Heaven Immortal World from the ancient Devil's Abyss 7 years ago. The reason why he came to the Eastern Heaven Immortal World was to hunt down Ning Fan, and kill him to vent the hatred in his master's heart. Currently, Great Emperor Mo Luo was being suppressed in a certain place, isolated from the world. Great Emperor Mo Luo used the bone sacrifice technique to perform a divination, and found out that Ning Fan was currently hiding in the Eastern Heaven Immortal World. As Ning Fan had refined the innate ghost face in advance, Great Emperor Mo Luo could not accurately find out Ning Fan's whereabouts and cultivation base. To Mo Luo, knowing that Ning Fan was in the Eastern Heaven was a piece of good news. As Great Emperor Mo Luo was being suppressed, he could not personally come out to kill Ning Fan. Fortunately, there was an abandoned realm gate near the place where he was trapped. It was connected to the Well of Contract in the Eastern Heaven Divine Tomb. Since he was being suppressed, he could not use the realm gate to descend to the Eastern Heaven. However, the crystal slaves by his side could. Thus, Great Emperor Mo Luo decisively sent the Thousand Leaves Devil Luo to the Well of Contract, and gave him the order to kill Ning Fan. Initially, he wanted to send a few more crystal slaves over. However, after one person passes through the realm gate, it would take several thousand years before the second person can pass through. The Thousand Leaves Devil Luo arrived at the Well of Contract, and signed a contract with Great Emperor Shen Kong. He was willing to help Shen Kong once. They agreed that after the battle, the contract would be cancelled and he would regain his freedom to roam the Eastern Heaven freely. Unfortunately, the first time he helped Shen Kong, he encountered Sun Luo, who was a ferocious devil, and died tragically in his hands. Before he could continue to transform and be reborn, the illusory devil crystal that was the existence of his primordial spirit fell into Ning Fan's hands. I didn't expect that the purpose of this 1,000 Leaves Devil Luo to come to the Eastern Heaven Immortal World is actually to kill me. Ning Fan's eyes immediately turned cold. In the past he was almost possessed by Great Emperor Mo Luo, and became his slave. Fortunately, he was saved by Lightning Emperor Tai Su. After that, he managed to destroy 30% of Mo Luo's devil sense, and escaped from the calamity. On that day, Great Emperor Mo Luo had once said that he would break free after 1,000,000 years and seek revenge on Ning Fan. To Ning Fan 1,000,000 years was too far away. Thus, he did not put Great Emperor Mo Luo's revenge in his heart. What Ning Fan did not expect was that Great Emperor Mo Luo's true body did not break free. Instead, he sent his crystal slaves to hunt him down. Luckily, this 1,000 Leaves Devil Luo was killed by Sun Luo once, and his illusory devil crystal fell into my hands. If he really completes his contract with Shen Kong, and regains his freedom, he would be able to roam the Eastern Heaven freely. With his cultivation base at the Quasi-Emperor realm, I don't know how dangerous it would be for me if he hunts me in the dark. Unknowingly, Sun Luo has helped me this time. Ning Fan's eyes flashed. Then he tore open the third layer of the seal. According to the memory, the 1,000 Leaves Devil Luo came from the fourth abyss of the ancient Devil Nine Abysses. As for Great Emperor Mo Luo, he was currently being suppressed under the fourth Devil Mountain. As for the location of the fourth Devil Mountain, it was located at the fourth Devil Mountain. Ning Fan's expression changed. The information that he obtained from the third layer of the seal had already touched upon the supreme secret of the devil race. Just as he was about to obtain the information about the location of the fourth Devil Mountain, something unexpected happened all of a sudden. In the third layer of the seal, a certain ability that he had planted beforehand was activated at this moment. The 1,000 Leaves Devil Luo's Sea of Consciousness began to burn at this moment. Without any hesitation, Ning Fan immediately withdrew his spirit sense, and put away the severed head of the 1,000 Leaves Devil Luo. Just as he let go of it, the head of the 1,000 Leaves Devil Luo suddenly burst into flames and turned into ashes. As for the illusory devil crystal that Ning Fan had placed on the stone table, it suddenly broke into two halves from the center. Double defense, huh? Ning Fan's eyes immediately turned grim. After a long while, his expression finally calmed down. He did not expect that the 1,000 Leaves Devil Luo's memories not only contained the seal of the memories, but also the existence of a restriction that could destroy his own sea of consciousness. That restriction was personally planted by Great Emperor Mo Luo. Once it is triggered, no one would be able to prevent the 1,000 Leaves Devil Luo's Sea of Consciousness from being destroyed unless their cultivation base was higher than his. The time when the restriction was triggered was not when Ning Fan tore open the first layer of the seal, but when he tore open the third layer of the seal. The 1,000 Leaves Devil Luo was a dignified Quasi-Emperor realm being. Ordinary people would certainly not be able to capture him. Those who could capture him were at least 4 heavens immortal emperors. From Great Emperor Mo Luo's point of view, if the crystal slave was really captured by a 4 heavens immortal emperor, it would not be safe no matter how strong the seal was planted in the crystal slave's sea of consciousness. It was hard to guarantee that the crystal slave's memories would not be leaked. Therefore, he planted a self-igniting restriction in the crystal slave's sea of consciousness. When someone tries to search the memories of the third layer of the seal, they would be attacked by the self-igniting restriction. The reason why he planted the restriction in the third layer of the seal was because his intention was rather vicious. Ordinary people would usually be cautious in the beginning when searching the memories of the soul. After that, they would relax. After searching the memories of the first and second layer of the seal, their mental state would become lax and it would be easy for the restriction to launch a sneak attack. If it wasn't for Ning Fan who withdrew his spirit sense in time, it was highly likely that he would be attacked by the self-igniting restriction and lose his life. What a pity. There must be more secrets in the depths of the 1,000 Leaves Devil Luo's memories. For example, secret techniques or other things. Ning Fan looked at the illusory devil crystal that had broken into 2 halves and sighed softly. The broken crystal could no longer transform into the 1,000 Leaves Devil Luo. Since it could not transform again, it meant that he could no longer search the memories of the crystal slave. The 1,000 Leaves Devil Luo had truly fallen. Ning Fan's eyes fell upon the two halves of the illusory devil crystal. All of a sudden, his expression changed. He saw a speck of silver dust falling on the stone table between the two halves of the crystal. This speck of dust was extremely tiny. If one doesn't look carefully, they would not notice its existence at all. Even though it was just a speck of dust, Ning Fan did not dare to underestimate its origin. It's actually illusory devil dust. Ning Fan kept the silver dust in his hand with a solemn expression on his face. The illusory devil crystal was a rare immortal ore. Even Great Emperor Mo Luo only obtained 10 pieces of it in his entire life. As for illusory devil dust, it was even rarer than the illusory devil crystal. It grew in the illusory devil crystal, and the probability of it taking form was extremely low. It was already very rare for 1 out of 1,000 illusory devil crystals to grow illusory devil dust. Illusory devil dust was extremely rare, and its usage was also very obscure. This devil dust could be used to concoct a type of pill called life illusion pill. The grade of the life illusion pill was not high. It was just a 4th revolution pill. However, its pill recipe was extremely difficult to obtain. Even the Eastern Heaven Emperor Star might not have it. Ordinary pill refinement masters had only heard of its name, but did not know its pill recipe. As for its medicinal effect, it was truly heaven-defying. Any cultivator who consumes this pill would have 3 clusters of illusory flames in their dantian. Within 2 hours, every time the cultivator who consumes the pill dies, one of the illusory flames would be extinguished, allowing the cultivator to be reborn from the ashes. If the illusory flames are exhausted within 2 hours, and the cultivator who consumes the pill dies again, there would be no way for him to be reborn from the ashes. Ning Fan looked at the illusory devil dust in his hand, and fell into deep thought. If he could find the pill recipe of the life illusion pill, he could use this dust to concoct the life illusion pill, and increase his life-saving trump card. However, the pill recipe of the life illusion pill. I wonder if I can buy the pill recipe of the life illusion pill in this Eastern Sea Star region. If I can't, I don't have to be in such a hurry. Just as Ning Fan was pondering, a group of cultivators suddenly arrived on the spirit platform star. Chapter 798. This group of cultivators had a total of 17 people. Regardless of gender, all of them were dressed in black brocade robes. 7 golden feathers were embroidered on the lapels of the clothes. This was precisely the insignia of the Godly Void Pavilion cultivators. Among the 17 of them, 15 of them were at the Void Fragmentation realm, while 2 of them were at the second step of Life Immortal realm. One of the Life Immortals was a beautiful woman in a black dress. She was at the early stage of the Human Profound realm. She had a slim figure, and her black hair was combed into a bun. Her appearance was quite beautiful, but the demonic aura in her eyes was a little heavy. Her nails were black and slender. The other Life Immortal was a middle-aged man with a mid-stage Ghost Profound cultivation base. This person had a square face and was dressed like a scholar. A green jade brush hung at his waist. The sword shadow just now had dissipated. He never thought that there would be a Life Immortal cultivator on this small spiritual platform star. It was a pity that he was too far away, so he was unable to accurately sense the strength of the sword light. As a result, it was difficult for him to determine this person's cultivation. I don't know if this person is a Human Profound realm or a Ghost Profound realm. If he is a Ghost Profound realm expert, I can exchange some pointers with him. The fighting spirit in the middle-aged scholar's eyes flashed, but it was immediately restrained. Hearing the middle-aged scholar's words, the beautiful woman in the black dress immediately covered her mouth and giggled. As expected of the descendant of the Luo clan's war monarch, fellow Daoist Luo, you're really fond of battle. Whenever you meet a fellow Daoist of the same level, you'll want to spar with them. We've met a total of 4 fellow Daoists of the Ghost Profound sect along the way. You'll have to fight each of them. My Luo family's cultivation method was born from battle. Whenever we encounter a bottleneck, we must fight with others countless times in order to break through. The middle-aged scholar said. Of the 4 Ghost Xian experts we encountered, 1 was at the early stage, 2 were at the middle stage, and 1 was at the late stage. Fellow Daoist, you've won 4 out of 4 battles. Fellow Daoist, I'm sure your ranking will rise again in this year's tomb competition. You'll have a good chance of winning the Void Medallion. It's a pity that the ceremony has been delayed. Otherwise, you would most likely be able to compete for the Primordial Spirit Wine, the black-robed beauty said with a hint of regret. With my current strength, it will be difficult for me to fight for the Void Token. If we can break through to the Late Ghost Profound Realm before the tomb competition, we might have a chance to seize the token with the help of our Luo clan's combat art. Let's not talk about this matter anymore. Our priority now is to finish the mission and choose the next Star Lord of the Spirit Platform Star as soon as possible, so that we can head to the next Cultivation Star. After the middle-aged scholar finished speaking, he descended toward the Spirit Platform Star and stood in the sky above a wasteland. Suddenly he spoke in a clear voice. His voice was not loud, but it contained a great divine power. His voice spread across the entire Spirit Platform Star in an instant. I am Divine General Luo Xiao of the Godly Void 4 Pavilions, Punishment Pavilion. Today, under the orders of the Pavilion Master of the Punishment Pavilion, I have descended upon this planet. By my decree, all Void Fragmentation Realm cultivators on this star must gather here within the time it takes for an incense stick to burn. On the entire Spirit Platform Star, excluding the Devil Beast experts, there were a total of 5 Void Fragmentation Realm cultivators including Lu Zhou. When the 5 Void Fragmentation Realm experts heard the middle-aged scholar's voice transmission, their expressions changed. One after another, they took out their teleportation jade slips and rushed to the place where the middle-aged scholar was without hesitation. As for the Devil Beasts on the Spirit Platform Star, they became fearful when they heard the middle-aged scholar's voice transmission. Before the time it takes for an incense stick to burn had passed, Lu Zhou and the other 4 Void Fragmentation Realm experts had already rushed to the place where the middle-aged scholar was and bowed respectfully to him. The cultivators of the Spirit Platform Star greet the High Envoy of the Punishment Pavilion. May I know why the High Envoy has come to my star? Dispense with the formalities. The reason why I came here today is because of the death of the Spirit Platform Star Lord. Today, I will choose one of you to be the new Star Lord of the Spirit Platform Star. If any of you are willing to compete for the position of the Star Lord, you may take a step forward. As soon as the middle-aged scholar finished speaking, he looked at Lu Zhou and the others quietly. The rest of the cultivators of the Punishment Pavilion remained silent and stood beside the middle-aged scholar. As soon as they heard that this group of cultivators of the Punishment Pavilion came to the Spirit Platform Star for the appointment of the Star Lord, the 4 Void Fragmentation Realm experts were excited. They took a step forward and expressed their willingness to compete for the position of the Star Lord. Only Lu Zhou showed a mixed expression. After pondering for a moment, he finally took a step forward. Seeing that the 5 Void Fragmentation Realm experts were willing to become the Star Lord, the middle-aged scholar nodded. Suddenly, he spread out his spirit sense, which was as vast as a galaxy, and scanned the bodies of the 5 of them. After a round of investigation, the middle-aged scholar raised his hand and pointed at Lu Zhou. Even though your cultivation base is not the highest among the 5 of us, you have a firm Dao heart. The position of the Spirit Platform Star Lord will be inherited by you. This jade slip is for you. It contains a bestowment divine ability. If you practice it, even if your cultivation base is only at the 4th fragmentation realm, it is enough for you to become the Lord of a Star. As soon as the middle-aged scholar finished speaking, he took out a jade slip and gave it to Lu Zhou. As soon as the other 4 Void Fragmentation Realm experts saw that Lu Zhou succeeded the position of the Spirit Platform Star Lord and was bestowed with a divine ability, their faces were filled with envy. However, Lu Zhou sighed and kept the jade slip. After thanking the middle-aged scholar for his favor, he suddenly opened his mouth again. Since I am already the Spirit Platform Star Lord, I should do something. I have a request that I hope the High Envoy can agree to. What request? The middle-aged scholar said expressionlessly. The Devil Tide has always been a disaster on the Spirit Platform Star. In the past, the previous Star Lord could still suppress the Devil Tide. Now there are only 5 of us Void Fragmentation Realm experts on the Spirit Platform Star. We can't suppress the Devil Tide at all. I hope that the High Envoy can help us suppress the Devil Tide. As soon as he finished speaking, Lu Zhou bowed again and lowered his head without saying a word. Inwardly, he was extremely nervous as he did not know if the middle-aged scholar would agree to his request. The devil tide can't be suppressed? The middle-aged scholar frowned and felt slightly displeased. After sensing with his spirit sense, he sensed the chi of 34 void fragmentation realm devil beasts on the spirit platform star. As a cultivator of the punishment pavilion of the godly void pavilion, he did not have the obligation to help his subordinates to suppress the chaos on the cultivation planets. That was the responsibility of the military pavilion. It was not his jurisdiction. He still had a mission to do. He still needed to bestow titles to tens of cultivation planets. Initially, he did not want to meddle in the affairs of this star. However, when he saw Lu Zhou's sincere words, he finally nodded and said, "Fine. Forget it. I'll help you destroy this star demon wave once. It's just 34 void fragmentation realm devil beasts. I don't think it will take much of my time." As soon as he finished speaking, the middle-aged scholar flicked his sleeves. Immediately, green light spots appeared in the area like fireflies. In the next moment, the middle-aged scholar disappeared with all the cultivators in the area. They appeared outside a devil swamp at the periphery of the tilting moon mountain range. Currently, all the void fragmentation realm devil beasts of the entire spirit platform star were gathered in this devil swamp. When the middle-aged scholar and his group arrived, 34 void fragmentation realm devil shadows immediately came out from the devil swamp to welcome them. These 34 devil shadows were led by Kulong. All of them were void fragmentation realm devil beasts that had transformed into human forms. The faces of the group of devils were extremely ugly at the moment. Especially Kulong, his eyes were filled with despair and unwillingness. He knew that the group of cultivators in front of him, excluding Lu Zhou and his group, were all cultivators of the 4 pavilions of the Godly Void Pavilion. The reason why these people came to the Devil Swamp at the periphery of the Tilting Moon Mountain Range was most likely to kill all the devil beasts in this place. Kulong and his group were the local devils of the Spirit Platform Star. Even if they dared to become enemies with Lu Zhou and the other local cultivators, how would they dare to become enemies with the Godly Void Pavilion? The entire Eastern Sea Star region was the territory of the Godly Void Pavilion. In the Godly Void Pavilion, there were countless experts who could kill the devils in this place like dogs. The Godly Void Pavilion was a great force that Kulong and his group could not afford to provoke. The Godly Void Pavilion was a divine Tao force and a profound cultivator sect. To the cultivators of the Godly Void Pavilion, the devil race was a different species. They were enemies and it was not wrong to kill them. There were a total of 17 cultivators of the Punishment Pavilion in front of them, including 2 life immortals. If these people started a massacre in the Tilting Moon Mountain Range, no devil beasts would be able to survive. May I know why the esteemed envoy has come to this place? Kulong gritted his teeth and asked the middle-aged scholar with the mentality of getting lucky. He really hoped that there was a 1 in 10,000 chance that the other party would not kill all the devils here. Unfortunately, the first sentence of the middle-aged scholar dispelled all of Kulong's hopes. The reason why I came here is to help the Spirit Platform Star eliminate the devils. If you Void Fragmentation Realm devil beasts are willing to end your own lives, I can let you go and not slaughter the low-grade devil beasts here. This middle-aged scholar liked to fight and did not like to kill. He did not like to lower his status and make things difficult for a group of low-grade devil beasts. From the middle-aged scholar's point of view, only Void Fragmentation Realm experts were needed to eliminate the devil beasts of the Spirit Platform Star. The rest could be handled by the Spirit Platform Star Lord himself. After hearing the words of the middle-aged scholar, the group of devils revealed a sorrowful expression. They could sense the scariness of the middle-aged scholar with their instincts as devil beasts. They understood that there was absolutely no hope of escaping in front of this person. Some of the devil beasts sighed and accepted their fate of ending their own lives. If they could use their lives to exchange for the survival of the other low-grade devil beasts, it would be a worthy death for them. However, the other group of devil beasts were unwilling to bow their heads and wait for death. One of them, who was as skinny as a devil, gritted his teeth and said loudly to Kulong, "Brother Ku, Aren't you on good terms with the second step senior in the inner area of the Tilting Moon Mountain? Can you ask him to come forward and help us mediate and protect our lives? That's right, Brother Ku. I heard that the second step senior is very fond of your two granddaughters. The only thing he didn't do is to take them as his disciples. With this relationship, he certainly won't ignore our lives. Another devil leader said with a hopeful expression. You can't. You can't. Kulong was quite moved by their words. How could he not want to ask Ning Fan to help save their lives? However, this feeling was instantly extinguished by him. Today's tribulation was a matter between the devil beasts of the Spirit Platform Star, the cultivators of the Spirit Platform Star, and the Godly Void Pavilion. How could they involve Ning Fan, who was an outsider? In Kulong's mind, Ning Fan was certainly extremely strong. However, he might not necessarily be stronger than the middle-aged scholar in front of him. It was even more impossible for him to be stronger than the Godly Void Pavilion behind the middle-aged scholar. Asking Ning Fan to come forward might not necessarily give him enough face to save the group of devil beasts. It might even anger the cultivators of the Godly Void Pavilion, and bring about an even greater calamity, which would implicate the low-grade devil beasts of this place. Moreover, Kulong was not confident that he could ask Ning Fan to save the group of devil beasts at the risk of offending the Godly Void Pavilion. Kulong let out a long sigh. Finally, he gave up the idea of involving Ning Fan in this matter. Most cultivators are selfish, because only selfish people can survive in cruel battles. Even if he asks Ning Fan for help, Ning Fan would not stand up for them. After all, there was no friendship between them. Brother Ku, you. As soon as they heard that Kulong was unwilling to ask Ning Fan for help, the few devils became anxious. However, they sighed deeply and their eyes were filled with despair. Actually, they also understood that even if Kulong asks Ning Fan for help, there was not much chance for him to do so. As for the middle-aged scholar, after hearing the conversation between the devil beasts, he suddenly revealed an interested expression and said, "Interesting. It seems like there is actually a backer behind you devils. I suppose it's that Life Immortal Realm cultivator on the Spirit Platform Star. You guys go and ask him for help. If he is strong enough, I don't mind letting you go for his sake. No need. We would rather die. That senior does not have any friendship with us. He will not stand up for us." Kulong shook his head and rejected the middle-aged scholar's suggestion. He closed his eyes and bowed his head, waiting for death. He had already made up his mind to never involve Ning Fan in this tribulation. After hearing what Kulong said, the middle-aged scholar shook his head and no longer tried to persuade him. His expression was cold. He stood with his hands clasped behind his back, and said indifferently to Kulong and the others. In the cultivation world, the strong survive and the weak die. You and I have different paths. Even if you hate me, I will still kill all of you for the sake of the cultivators of the Spirit Platform Star. You guys can commit suicide now. Don't force me to do it. If you don't commit suicide after 10 breaths, I don't mind sending you on your way." As soon as he finished speaking, the middle-aged scholar began to wait patiently. At this moment, Lu Zhou and the other cultivators of the Spirit Platform Star looked at the devil beasts who had no choice but to commit suicide. Suddenly, a feeling of sympathy rose in their hearts. However, this feeling only rose for a moment before it was suppressed by the 5 of them. They were old enemies with the devil beasts of the Spirit Platform Star. Countless of their friends and relatives had died in the hands of the devil beasts. They had also killed countless devil beasts. The grudge between them had long become irreconcilable. Kulong and the rest of the devils wore desolate expressions. Each of them raised their palms and pressed on the top of their heads. They were devil beasts after all. They believed in the concept of the strong survive and the weak die. They could be considered enemies with the middle-aged scholar and the others. Their cultivation was inferior. The other party only ordered them to commit suicide and not kill the low-level devil beasts. It was already very merciful. Just as the group of demons were about to commit suicide, 2 babies suddenly stumbled out of the demon swamp and cried at the middle-aged scholar and the others in a childish voice. "You guys are bad guys. You can't kill Grandpa. Chin Chin won't let you guys kill Grandpa. You guys are bad. You guys are bad. Shut up." Hurry up and retreat. Kulong's expression instantly became extremely nervous. He never thought that his 2 babies would run out at this moment and scold the cultivators of the Godly Void Pavilion and the Punishment Pavilion. God knew how scared Kulong was at this moment. He was afraid that the middle-aged scholar and the others would kill his 2 granddaughters and countless low-level devil beasts in a fit of anger. Being scolded by the 2 babies as bad guys, the middle-aged scholar was not angry. He only frowned. The eyes of the beautiful woman in black dress turned cold. Obviously, she was extremely dissatisfied with the 2 babies. However, she disdained to attack them. However, a few of the Void Fragmentation Realm experts of the Punishment Pavilion behind the middle-aged scholar showed killing intent in their eyes. These people were profound cultivators with a very strong concept of righteousness and evil. They hated evil devils from the start, and wished that they could eliminate all the devils in this place. At this moment, after being scolded by the 2 babies, an old man of the Punishment Pavilion who was at the 8th heavenly layer of the Void Fragmentation Realm immediately took a step forward and grabbed the 2 babies with his big hand. He then shouted coldly, "Reckless evil devils. Even if they are young devils, we must eliminate all of them." Stop. Kulong's eyes were filled with anger. He was not afraid of death and he would not hesitate to die. However, he would not allow anyone to attack his family. Just as he was about to save the 2 babies, another burly man who was at the 9th heavenly layer of the Void Fragmentation Realm instantly blocked in front of him. The man snorted coldly and threw a punch at him. With just a punch, Kulong was forced to retreat by 300 meters. Even though Kulong was not injured, he could not save the 2 babies in time. An unconcealable anger burned in his heart. In this anger, there was also a deep sorrow. That sorrow could only be experienced by those who were at the end of their rope. I can't save them anymore. I can't save them anymore. This thought rose crazily in Kulong's mind. He could not bear to see the 2 babies being torn into pieces by the cultivators of the Punishment Pavilion. The old man of the Punishment Pavilion grabbed with his 5 fingers. Immediately, 5 rays of sword light shot out from his fingers and slashed at the 2 babies. The 2 babies also felt the danger. They were so scared that they stood rooted to the ground. How old were they? How would they know what danger was? How would they know the immensity of heaven and earth? However, they were devil beasts. At this moment, they could feel the feeling of death so deeply. Just as the sword light was about to touch their bodies, a black flame suddenly flashed in front of the 2 babies. At the same time, a white-robed figure suddenly appeared in front of the 2 girls. He raised his hand and pressed it against the 5 rays of sword light. Who else could it be other than Ningfan? The 5 rays of sword light were like dragons. However, in front of Ningfan, they were like a child's play. They were not worth mentioning. He just raised his hand and pressed it. The 5 rays of sword light that were slashed out by the old man instantly shattered into specks of golden light and dispersed with the wind. Second step, life immortal realm. The expression of the old man who attacked the babies changed drastically. At the moment when Ningfan crushed the sword light, he retreated without any hesitation. He could sense an indescribable cold killing intent from Ningfan's body. How could he know that Ningfan already had the intention to take these 2 babies as his disciples? After several months of getting along with them, he had developed a deep affection for them. Ningfan was not concerned about the life and death of other devil beasts. However, he had the intention to protect these 2 babies. He would not allow anyone to hurt them. Evil must be eradicated. What a good, evil must be eradicated. This Ning would like to know just what evil these 2 ignorant 3-year-old children have to speak of. Black flames flashed under Ningfan's feet. Before his shadow disappeared, his true body had already appeared in front of the old man. Without saying a word, he pressed his finger. His movement technique was swift and his attack was fast. Even the middle-aged scholar and the beautiful lady in black dress, who were both life immortal realm experts, could not see his movement light and the technique he used. The middle-aged scholar's eyes turned solemn. His expression did not change much, and he did not have the intention to save the old man. He just stared at Ningfan's finger without saying a word. The beautiful lady in black dress was shocked. It was already too late for her to save the old man. The old man only saw a flash of golden-purple light in front of his eyes. In the next moment, his life force decayed and turned into ashes under Ning Fan's finger. The burly man who forced Kulong to retreat with a punch was already terrified when he saw Ning Fan kill the old man with a single finger. He left Kulong and immediately went behind the middle-aged scholar to pray for his life. Ning Fan, however, did not even look at the burly man. In a flash, he had already returned to his original spot and stood beside the two children. He only wanted to take revenge for the two children by killing the old man with a broken 8. He did not harbor any hostility towards the cultivator, who forced Kulong to retreat. He was originally a cold and indifferent person. Only the two children could arouse his compassion. "Who are you? How dare you kill a cultivator of my punishment pavilion?" The middle-aged scholar did not say anything, but the beautiful lady in black dress was enraged. No one in this place could see through Ning Fan's exact cultivation base. Naturally, she could not see through it as well. She only knew that Ning Fan was an early or mid-human profound realm cultivator. She thought that with her various secret techniques, she could even fight against a late human profound realm cultivator. Why would she be afraid of Ning Fan? However, just as she took a step forward, and before she could do anything to Ning Fan's cold gaze had already swept towards her. Just a single look from him had caused her chi to be in a mess. Her beautiful eyes turned blood red. She was actually invaded by Ning Fan's baleful chi. After taking a few steps backwards, her face turned pale and she coughed out blood. She was already severely injured. With just a single look, Ning Fan had inflicted serious injuries on her. What kind of technique was this? She could not imagine it at all. However, what shocked her was that Ning Fan was not at the human profound realm like she had imagined. Instead, he was at the ghost profound realm. After witnessing Ning Fan's strength, how would she dare to challenge him anymore? She did not even dare to stand up for that unlucky old man. On the other hand, the middle-aged scholar no longer remained silent. He finally spoke. His eyes were filled with endless battle intent. This battle intent was only for the sake of winning the battle. It did not have any intention of taking revenge for the broken 8 old man. He had already recognized that Ning Fan was a mid-ghost profound realm cultivator. "My name is Luo Xiao. If you fight against me and can withstand 1 or 2 of my moves, I will spare the lives of all the devils on this planet. How about that?" The middle-aged scholar said with a friendly smile. "I am not interested in the lives of the other devils," Ning Fan said indifferently. Then he turned around and was about to leave with the 2 children. The middle-aged scholar harumphed in displeasure. Then he flicked his sleeves and directly took out the jade brush hanging on his waist and threw it at Ning Fan. "Get lost!" Ning Fan suddenly turned his head. His eyes flashed with a blood-red light. Boundless red light flew out from his body and turned into a huge bloody fist. Without saying a word, he directly threw a punch at the middle-aged scholar. This punch directly turned the middle-aged scholar's jade brush magical treasure into powder. As for the remaining fist light, it turned into a strong gust of wind, forcing the middle-aged scholar to retreat 100 zhang backwards. His expression changed greatly. Suddenly, his face turned pale and he coughed out a mouthful of blood. Then he looked at Ning Fan in shock. There was also a hint of inexplicable feeling in his shock. This person and I are both at the mid-ghost profound realm. I can't believe he can actually be so strong. If this person cultivates the war god art, I wonder how many levels of divine transformation he can achieve. This person will probably be of great use to my War King Luo clan. I just don't know how high his aptitude for cultivating the divine war art is. Chapter 799. After he appeared, he destroyed a void fragmentation realm cultivator with a flick of his finger. He injured a human profound realm cultivator with a glance and a ghost profound realm cultivator with a punch. In just 10 breaths of time, the strength he displayed shocked all the cultivators at the scene. Be it the members of the spirit platform star like Kulong or the cultivators of Luzhou or the cultivators of the punishment pavilion like the beautiful lady in black dress. All of their eyes were filled with deep respect. Even the middle-aged scholar, who had the highest cultivation here, revealed an expression of extreme shock. However, There was also a hint of inexplicable meaning in his shocked expression. His name was Luo Xiao and he was a member of the Luo clan of Eastern Ocean. The Luo clan was an 8th grade force in Eastern Ocean Star region. In Eastern Ocean, the Luo clan had a pivotal position. Even those 9th grade sects that had eternal immortal venerables did not dare to underestimate the Luo clan. Firstly, it was because the clan leader of the Luo clan, Luo Shi, was the current 9th elder of the Godly Void Pavilion. He was already a half-step into the mid-thought fragmentation realm. He had a lot of authority in the Godly Void Pavilion. Even the eternal monsters in the pavilion had to be polite to him. Secondly, it was because there was an immortal king sleeping in the Luo clan who had been sleeping for 45 million years. Speaking of this sleeping immortal king, almost everyone in the Eastern Heaven immortal world knew about him. His name was Luo Ho. The reason why he had been sleeping for 45 million years was largely related to Sun Luo. 45 million years ago, Sun Luo caused chaos in Eastern Ocean Star region for the first time. On that day, Luo Ho fought against Sun Luo, who was in the 5th Eternal Tribulation with just his cultivation base of the 3rd Eternal Tribulation. Both of them suffered heavy injuries. After that, he fell into a deep sleep. In the past, Sun Luo was naturally not as strong as he was now. However, he was still able to defeat all of the 5 Eternal Tribulations. On the other hand, Luo Ho surpassed 2 minor realms and severely injured Sun Luo. This naturally shocked countless people. With this impressive achievement, Luo Ho's name shook the entire Eastern Heaven. Even though he was in a deep sleep due to his heavy injuries, countless old monsters still respectfully addressed him as Battle King. That was why the Luo clan was also known as the Battle King Luo clan. The Luo clan was also known as the Battle King Luo clan. This was a ruthless person who could seriously injure Sun Luo. If he woke up, even the immortal king of the 5th Eternal Tribulation wouldn't dare to provoke the Luo family. The Luo clan had a secret cultivation art called War God Art. It was the technique that made Luo Ho famous. It was precisely by relying on this technique that Luo Ho was able to erupt with shocking combat strength, defeat a stronger opponent, and heavily injure Sun Luo. Very few people in the Godly Void Pavilion knew that the key to awakening War King Luo Ho was in this War God Art. Luo of his eyes and Luo his of King Thought, his eyes of his eyes Luo Dragon, Dragon with his eyes. Of Luo of the profound Luo Realm Cultivators Luo, of. He wanted to find out how high Ning Fan's aptitude in cultivating the War God secret art was. He Luo. He King. He of. Long of. He Spirit. He of Luo. It was. He. Fan of. Luo of had finally. Luo. King was. Luo of Ning Fan turned his baleful chi into a fist and forced Luo Xiao to retreat. When he saw that Luo Xiao was only lightly injured, his eyes turned cold. Without saying anything else, he brought the 2 children, and was about to leave. The beautiful lady in black dress, and the other cultivators of the Punishment Pavilion naturally did not dare to stop Ning Fan. Luo Xiao, however, swallowed the sweet blood in his throat. His body flashed and disappeared without a trace. At the next moment he appeared in front of Ning Fan, blocking his path. Fellow Taoist, please wait. No matter what, you have to fight me today. Just as he said those words, he also threw a punch that was extremely ferocious. It drew the great force of the entire spirit platform star, and hurled it at Ning Fan's face. He did not use any ability in that punch. It was just an ordinary punch, but it carried boundless power. Luo Xiao was not only a mid-ghost profound realm cultivator, but also a 4th severance immortal body refinement realm body cultivator. A 4th severance immortal body refinement realm body cultivator could match a peak profound realm enemy, just by relying on the strength of their physical body. With the dual cultivation of magic and body, even if Luo Xiao did not use his trump card, he was already hard to find a match among mid-ghost profound realm cultivators. A 4th severance immortal body refinement realm body cultivator, huh? Ning Fan's eyes turned cold. He curled the tip of his left finger, and 2 black vortexes immediately appeared under the feet of the 2 little children beside him. The black vortexes flashed and teleported the 2 girls to Kulong's side, leaving the battlefield. Ning Fan clenched his right fist and threw a punch at Luo Zhao's fist light. This punch, however, had mobilized all the essence chi of the fourth heavenly layer of the Si-Chen realm. In terms of physical strength alone, Ning Fan was definitely not weaker than Luo Zhao. In fact, he was slightly stronger. The fourth heavenly layer of the Si-Chen realm corresponded to the fourth severance immortal body refinement realm. However, it was much stronger than the fourth severance immortal body refinement realm, because the devils of the Si-Chen realm were all ancient devils. In terms of the Tao of body refinement, ancient devils were definitely not weaker than any immortal cultivators of the same level. Boom! The force of the collision of their fists was controlled by the two of them. The mountains and rivers did not collapse, but the entire spirit platform star began to tremble slightly due to the shockwaves from the collision of their fists. Two rays of fist light collided with each other in midair. Hidden energy waves surged. A moment later, Luo Zhao's fist light was the first to explode. As for Ning Fan's fist light, it suddenly erupted with destructive energy waves and smashed towards Luo Zhao. Boom! Another loud explosion resounded. Then smoke and dust filled the sky. When the smoke and dust dispersed, the entire outer region of the Crescent Mountain Range had collapsed and the ground cracked. The rivers had changed their course. The Devil's Swamp under Ning Fan's and the others' feet was also riddled with holes. Under Ning Fan's deliberate control, only the place where Kulong and the others were standing was not attacked. As for the place where Luo Zhao was standing just now, it had already become a gigantic heavenly pit that was 10,000 zhang deep. At this moment, Luo Zhao's entire body was dyed with blood. His robes were torn and tattered. He was sent to the bottom of the pit by Ning Fan's punch. He coughed out blood incessantly and looked extremely miserable. However, his eyes were not filled with fear or anger. Instead, they revealed a hint of joy. This senior is actually a body cultivator whose physical body is comparable to a fifth severance immortal body. Lu Zhou, Kulong and the other void fragmentation realm experts looked at Ning Fan with astonishment. Fellow Taoist, you have a powerful physical body. If it wasn't for me borrowing the divine art of my clan to protect myself at the critical moment, I would have most likely been severely injured by your punch. Luo Zhao's face looked a little dispirited, but his eyes were filled with intense battle intent. He leaped up from the pit and stood in the sky. He stood in the sky and looked down at Ning Fan. His eyes were like torches. His body was filled with an indomitable battle intent that seemed to be ignited by flames. He realized that Ning Fan was a body cultivator, who had an extremely strong physical body. He was very satisfied with the result of this test. One should know that the prerequisite of cultivating the war god art was to be proficient in body refinement techniques. Perhaps this person is really the person that countless generations of cultivators of my Luo clan have been waiting for. Luo Zhao's eyes turned resolute. He stood in the sky and looked down at Ning Fan and said solemnly, I have no intention to hold fellow Taoist accountable for a mere void fragmentation realm cultivator of the punishment pavilion. I also have no interest in annihilating the devils of the spirit platform star. I just want to have a battle with fellow Taoist. A battle with all my strength. This is my current goal. Fellow Taoist, do you dare to accept this Luo's challenge? Step into the sky and fight it out with me. If fellow Taoist is willing to have a battle with me, I'm willing to promise you no matter who wins or loses. From now on, this spirit platform star will be under the protection of my Luo clan, the War King. The two young devils that you care about will be under the protection of my Luo clan from now on. They won't have to worry about anything for the rest of their lives. At this moment, the battle intent in Luo Zhao's eyes seemed to have materialized. An aura that could not be ignored gradually rose around his body along with a sense of arrogance. That arrogance was the pride of a combat cultivator. His words moved Ning Fan's eyes even more. This person wholeheartedly wants to fight me. His purpose isn't to annihilate the devil beasts of this star, nor is it to avenge the punishment pavilion cultivator. He seemed to have an ulterior motive, but his battle intent was upright and extremely pure. What I didn't expect is that this person is actually a cultivator of the Battle King Luo clan. Ning Fan had heard some information about the Battle King Luo clan from Little Demoness. In the Flowing Sand Star region, There was once an elder surnamed Luo who was at the peak crossing Truth Realm, who always protected little Demonis. That elder surnamed Luo was a member of the Battle King Luo clan. He was also one of the 480 elders of the Godly Void Pavilion. Unfortunately, he was ranked at the bottom, and he did not have any authority. This person was sent by the Luo clan to protect little Demonis. The cultivators of the Godly Void Pavilion were usually divided into two camps. One was the Void Camp while the other was the Divine Void Camp. Both the Luo clan and Little Demonis belonged to the Void Camp. Moreover, according to what Little Demonis said by chance, the Luo clan was one of the few major forces in the Void Camp that took care of Little Demonis. Ning Fan was not afraid of the background of the Luo clan, nor did he care about Luo Zhao's promise. He even dared to kill the cultivators of the Punishment Pavilion. Why would he be afraid of the Luo clan? He disliked Luo Zhao's overbearing attitude, and insisted on challenging him. However, considering that the Luo clan had taken care of Little Demonis, Ning Fan was not willing to harm his life even though he disliked Luo Zhao. "Are you really not willing to fight me?" Luo Zhao asked again. Ning Fan frowned. Finally, he made up his mind. His body leaped and flew up to the sky. He stood 10,000 zhang away from Luo Zhao and said indifferently, "If you want to fight, I will allow you to. Since you are from the Battle King Luo clan, I will naturally show mercy." What Ning Fan said was not, because he was conceited. Instead, he was fully confident that he could defeat Luo Zhao. Luo Zhao was considered an expert among the profound Ghost Realm cultivators in the Eastern Ocean Star region. However, he was far from being invincible among the profound Ghost Realm. As for Ning Fan, he was already invincible among those below the Crossing Truth Realm. He could even put up a fight against an early Crossing Truth True Immortal. "So fellow Taoist surname is Ning, huh? You don't have to show mercy. Just go all out." Of course, I know that fellow Taoist's strength is definitely not at the mid-Ghost Realm. However, fellow Taoist doesn't know that I, Luo Zhao, am also not an ordinary profound Ghost Realm cultivator. War God Transformation. First Transformation. Luo Zhao took a step forward. His hair, which was tied up high, suddenly scattered. His black hair suddenly turned blood red. His originally weak body suddenly became twice as tall as before. The muscles on his body began to become more robust, filled with explosive power. Behind him, the shadow of a blood-red god suddenly appeared. Tens of thousands of rays of blood-red divine light burst out from his body. The appearance of that god's shadow could not be seen. However, the moment it appeared, Luo Zhao's body refinement realm, which was originally at the 4th severance of his immortal physique, skyrocketed to the 6th severance. It was unknown what kind of secret technique Luo Zhao had used. The strength of his physical body actually increased tremendously in an instant. Blood-red scales began to grow on his body, and a pair of blood-red ox horns grew on his head. At this moment, Luo Zhao's eyes were filled with an almost insane battle intent. When that overwhelming battle intent rushed towards him, even Ning Fan's expression could not help but change slightly. This is a secret divine ability that can increase the realm of one's physical body. That's right. The secret technique I just used is the secret technique of my Battle King Luo clan, which is not passed down to outsiders. War God Art. Just now, it was the first transformation of the War God. Now it's the second transformation. Roar. Luo Zhao changed his hand seal. The battle intent around his body skyrocketed again. Under this surging battle intent, his mental state was almost on the verge of collapse. However, he still gritted his teeth and roared at the sky. His body grew taller again. His muscles became even more robust. His blood-red hair began to grow longer. Blue veins popped up on his face, making him look ferocious and terrifying. After using the secret technique for the second time, the realm of his physical body had skyrocketed from the 6th severance of his immortal physique to the peak of the 7th severance. At this moment, Luo Zhao could easily defeat late Ghost Profound Realm cultivators with just the strength of his physical body. Under the unity of law and body, he could even put up a fight against a peak Ghost Profound Realm cultivator. War God Dao, Battle King's Halberd. Luo Zhao let out a long roar. The blood-red light around his body suddenly condensed into a red crystal trident which he held in his hand. He took a huge step forward. Immediately, several blood-red cracks appeared in the vast sky. He let out a roar and threw the shining trident in his hand towards Ningfan's direction. When it came towards him, it moved like a dragon, stirring up thousands of strong gales. This attack had clearly reached the might of a peak ghost profound realm attack. What a great war god art! It actually allowed a body cultivator with a fourth severance immortal physique to erupt with such powerful strength. Ningfan praised from the bottom of his heart. To body refinement cultivators, this war god art was definitely an extremely powerful secret technique. The Luo clan, the War King, really lived up to its name. However, Luo Zhao's cultivation base was still a little shallow after all. Even though he used the war god art, he was still not Ningfan's match. In terms of magic power, Ningfan had already reached the peak of the peak ghost profound realm, which was infinitely close to the Duzhen realm. To him, even though the trident was coming at him with great momentum, it was not difficult to break it. You've lost this battle, Ningfan said indifferently. At the moment when he said those words, he raised his hand and pointed a finger. A ray of dark golden sword light shot out from his finger. In an instant, it turned into 108,000 rays of sword light that blotted out the sky and covered the earth. The sword shadows were illusory and formed a formation. At this moment, all the cultivators on the spirit platform star held their breaths. It was because the sword chi of the memory-severing Dao sword was too sharp. It had locked the movement of the entire spirit platform star, and all the circulation of spiritual chi. It was as if there were only countless illusory sword shadows left in heaven and earth. This was the only feeling Luo Xiao had. When the 108,000 rays of sword light slashed at him, the red crystal trident that Luo Xiao threw out was immediately shattered into specks of blood light. As for Luo Xiao himself, he was shaken by the aftershock of the sword light. He immediately spurted out blood, and was forced to retreat. His body that was at the second transformation of the war god immediately shattered the vast sky with every step he took. Every time he took a step back, the shock in his eyes would increase by a little. I have already used all my strength and even used the war god art. But I was actually defeated by a casual sword attack from this man. Is this man really just at the ghost profound realm? The destructive power of this casual sword attack of his is almost comparable to a single attack from Senior Duzhen. The shock on his face disappeared in a flash. At the next moment, it turned into a firm belief. This man's combat power is so strong that he can actually be so strong. Who else can be his match under Duzhen? This man might possibly attain the legendary fourth transformation of the war god. Then he will save the war king. Under the astonished expressions of the cultivators on the ground, Ningfan calmly kept the sword shadows that filled the sky and landed on the ground without saying a word. For the sake of the little demoness, he had already fought Luo Xiao and did not take his life. However, he did not want to have too much of a relationship with the Luo clan. Just as he was about to leave, Luo Xiao dispersed his war god transformation and hurriedly landed on the ground. He wiped off the bloodstain at the corner of his mouth and forcefully suppressed the injuries in his body. Then he cupped his fists and bowed to Ningfan. His attitude was already extremely polite and sincere. Fellow Taoist Ning, I have a request. Can we talk in private? To you, this is definitely something that will greatly benefit you. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.